assistance of communities. And in that, he has also been a scholar of Fulbright scholar in the year 2007, attached to the University of California at Santa Barbara. Currently, Professor Umar Ahmed Kasuli serves as the Deputy Vice Chancellor at Mutesa Royal. He has published a number of publications. Prominent of them is Islam and Human Rights, and also another one, Pursuit of Human Dignity and Justice. Professor, I'm giving you the floor to open up your presentation so that we can benefit and the Ummah as well. And please, you're welcome to proceed with your presentation. Shukran.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Thank you very much, Brother Kaluma Abdullah, for that wonderful and humble, introduction of myself. I want to Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My presentation, my role today is not really to make a lecture or make a powerful presentation, but I want to lead you into a conversation of what the organizers of this august function thought was really very important and interesting for us to have a conversation over, and that is the role of Muslim intellectuals in mentoring future Muslim leaders, bridging a gap between the present and the past. I'll go into my presentation straight away by maybe giving you a few definitions, and then we shall pick it up there. The term mentor is derived from Greek mythology, when Odysseus entrusted the care of his son to his friend Mentor. Mentor was the friend of Odysseus, to serve as a guide and teacher while he went to fight the Trojan War. These were mythological, personalities. They were not really real, but Mentor was, maybe Odysseus was a king, and his son was supposed to be going to war. So he trusted he asked his friend Mentor to serve as a guide to his son and the teacher while they went to the war. So that's where it became, that's where we picked the word mentor, and that's where the meaning can be derived. Over time, mentoring has evolved into a multidimensional interactive process that can be either formal or informal. Formal meaning it can be used like you have a setup in an organization, maybe a bank, maybe a business enterprise, a farm, maybe in a university, especially in academic institutions. Now it's a very, very important, role that, senior faculty members do to, junior ones. Now that is the formal. The informal one, which I find a little bit more interesting and more revealing, is where, there are no rules, specific rules set, and it can be initiated by any of the mentor and the mentee, any of the two can. Well, we shall be looking at those details later on. It evolves over time. Mentoring evolves over time according to the needs of the mentor and apprentice or munafunzi. In Luganda, I think this is not a Luganda word, but it was Lugandanized or Gandanized. Munafunzi ndio mwanafunzi from Kiswahili, that is where the mentee is defined as munafunzi or mwanafunzi or an apprentice. Mentoring is done by impartation. You have muted me. Okay. Mentoring is done by impartation, passing on experience from the mentor to the protege. The protege is the mentee, and the mentor usually passes on information, passes on experience, techniques, and so on and so forth to the person that is being mentored. This formal mentoring, that's the one I want to first go to. This is one is done. This is a one-to-one reciprocal relationship between a more experienced and knowledgeable person, the mentor, and the less experienced one, the protege. So that's the formal. It's a relationship, a reciprocal relationship. An experienced person or a knowledgeable person who is always the mentor, and a less experienced one. The relationship is characterized by regular. Now, this is what formality comes in. Regular, consistent interaction over a period of time to facilitate a protege to achieve specific goals. The goals here now, when you say specific goals, this one is being formal. When it's regular, it is consistent, it is achieving specific goals set in advance, and once the goals are achieved, well, maybe the relationship stops. Research has shown that mentoring can improve performance. For example, when a novice educator is formally mentored by a more accomplished academician. In the faculty, whatever, the senior professors, usually take along the junior ones, the junior lecturers, juniors, teaching assistants. They take them along the way and show them how to grow, how to do things, and how to make arguments, how to make proper presentations, the decorum of academicism, and all those kind of things. Quite a number of things that can be, done. But that's the formal mentoring. And the good practices of formal mentoring include having appropriately, matched dyads. A dyad is a couple, or the mentor and the mentee can be referred to as a dyad, two of them. If you don't want to be biting your tongue between mentor and mentee, you can say dyads. Now, these are good practices. It would, for mentorship to take place, to be effective, the two need to be appropriately matched. If there's a mismatch, then the objectives or the aim of the mentorship may not come out, may not be achieved. Then two, there's be also establishing clear mentorship purposes and goals. The purpose should be very clearly mentioned, and the goals must be mentioned, clearly set out. If there are six, there are six. We want to see, for example, I'll take an example of mentorship in a faculty, all right? If I am a professor and I've got somebody I'm mentoring, the purpose could be very clear. If it's academic writing, that's the purpose. Academic presentation, that's the purpose. Publication, that's a purpose or a goal. And once those ones are achieved, then the relationship can stop. It can be 2 months, it can be 6 months, it can be 1 year, it can be 5 years, depending, all right? Then solidifying the dyad, these two, because hitherto, none of the two may have known one another necessarily, all right? There could be just somebody in Tanzania gets to know that there's a good person at the Islamic University in Uganda, and therefore he wants to be mentored. So he comes in and they start, all right? So there's a process of getting to know one another, of getting to have that kind of bonding for the two, so that they can open up each other to each other. Usually the mentee should be the one to do more of seeking to open up to the mentor, because the mentor is already an accomplished person, so to speak. Therefore, the mentee needs him more than the mentor. Therefore, solidifying that relationship, opening up, and so on and so forth is very, very necessary. Then advocacy and guidance for the protege. If we are going to go with the same example of an academic, mentorship in the formal sense, advocacy and guidance of the protege for the protege would mean that the mentor would do, kind of lobby, all right, for his mentor, for his mentee, for the protege. Like if it is to do, if there are conferences, then this one will be always fighting to see, let my student or let my protege get a slot to make a presentation of a paper at a good forum. That's advocacy. If there are resources, all right, for more mentoring would always involve resources, I think, as you know. So if it means lobbying resources to enable the mentee or the protege to be able to go and prove himself somewhere, that should be done. All those are good practices in formal mentoring. Integrating the protege into the culture, right? For example, if it's an academic culture, you want to integrate him to show him the inroads, how things are done, who matters. If it is a subject that you are mentoring him in or her into, what major sources there are, who are the people, who are the authorities in that area, so that this person, when he goes out there to make presentations like we're doing now, people are expecting, if you're talking about this subject, so should be cited. If you don't have this, if you didn't read this, then you are not being, academic enough, all right, or intellectual enough. I use the two words sparingly. Then if it's leadership, martial arts, those are the cultures, various cultures. It could be academic culture, it could be leadership culture, it could be martial arts. I love movies. So when I watch those Chinese and, the kung fu's kind of things, the martial arts, you see the mentors, the actual mentoring, taking place, or even in sport. Okay. And then another good practice is mobilizing institutional resources for mentoring support. Yeah, mentoring in a formal sense usually requires resources. This could be in terms of money, in terms of transport, in terms of flight tickets, if it's about exposure, in terms of reading materials. All those are resources. So in a way, when mentoring is taking place, those things, a mentor should be always taking care of them. And where orientation is desired, where orientation to the desired role, is very important, then academic, leadership, martial arts, and so on and so forth, the role should be very clearly stipulated. Also, integration into the desired culture, development of skills, desired skills in a given culture, mastery of etiquette, skills, processes, regalia in that culture. All these are good, practices. And these are results from the good practices, where if you are doing formal orientation, rather formal mentoring, these are the things that can come out. Somebody gets oriented, somebody gets integrated into the desired culture, somebody gets the development of skills, and he becomes a master, and overall he qualifies. A mentee qualifies to be a mentor. Now, this is very important in the subject we are talking. If some people want to start mentoring, before you start mentoring, you should have been mentored in one way or the other. All right. So, like I said at the beginning, it's impartation from me to my mentee, and then after having this period of time or the skills acquired, then one should be able to replicate and duplicate them into another person, and then he also becomes a mentor. So it's a rolling kind of project or enterprise that you would want to be seeing. Now, informal mentoring. This is where I have more interest. I'm glad to have more interest in the informal mentoring. This occurs in a relationship between two people where one gains insight, knowledge, wisdom, friendship, and support from the other. It occurs. It's a relationship. Usually it's not pre-arranged. Usually it is spontaneous, okay? And the person doesn't want to have only one aspect of, one goal, but it's a series of goals. Sometimes what's so important about this is the admiration of the mentee of the mentor, okay? The mentee admires or aspires, would want to become like his mentor, and therefore he initiates. Or the mentor himself may identify, somebody and say, I think this is a good person. He's interested in my ideas, interested in the way we do things here. He's interested in the culture that I'm developing. Maybe if I could pay more attention to him. Usually this happens to us people who are in the academia. You identify a student and you are like, I think this guy is good material. They may not have discovered themselves. They may not be aware of the potentials that they have. But you may say, yeah, I think this one has got the potential. And therefore, you do a deliberate, as a mentor does a deliberate, reach out to this kind of person and then starts, giving him these insights, knowledge, wisdom, friendship, support, and so on and so forth. Then in this kind of informal mentorship, what's so interesting is there are no specified goals, no time set ahead of the process. Therefore, it's not measurable and reportable. In the formal one, you measure, there are measurements, right? You may say, okay, now we have moved this far in the set goals. I think we have got 2 weeks. We shall be winding up, and then you go your own ways. Okay? Here, in the informal one, there is no specific goals. There are no timelines, but people, get along. Therefore, it's not measurable and not reported. You may not be able to report that at the end, when you're mentoring, sometimes there's a form maybe, or a format, depending on where you are, on who you're mentoring, and there's something to mentorship. You feel and say, now we have achieved this, we have achieved this, we have achieved this. Then at the end of the day, you give a report to the mentee and say, now this person has been through my hands, we have done this. I feel satisfied, he can do A, B, C, D. You give that report. So that's reportable. But in the informal one, there are no measurable things, there are no measurements, and you may not necessarily need to report it because it's not really formal, it's not structured, as it were. It is very flexible. The informal mentoring is very flexible, since it is sometimes driven by the protege needs, while at other times it may be by the mentor desire driven. Okay, protege needs is this person comes and say, sir, maybe, or ma'am, I would want to be doing this. I would want to see, you're a good carpenter. You're such a good carpenter. I would want to learn from you. How do you do this? All right. And then sometimes they dedicate lifetimes, all right, to this process. And then they walk through, you show them the techniques, you show them, and so on and so forth. Mentors in this kind of relationship are more likely to engage in positive activities such as coaching, role modeling, facilitating social interactions. I've just talked about. Sometimes the good things can be overlapping. You want to say, if I'm a sheikh, for example, all right, and I have a mentee who I would want to be able to be like myself, or to acquire the skills. I want to pass on my skills to this mentee. When we go to a function, they say, well, so is going to give us a talk, and I would say maybe so stand up and speak on my behalf. Now that's social interaction, facilitating somebody into social interaction. Opening gateways for them to be exposed, for them to be known. All right. So that is what I mean by getting, doing those relationships that are likely to engage in positive activities, especially facilitating in social interactions. The protege usually wishes to emulate the mentor. That's a very key thing in the informal mentoring. The protege usually wants to become like the mentor. all right? He feels the mentor is emulable, and therefore he wants to emulate him, and that keeps the mentee around, sticks around the mentee, around the mentor, okay? Where informal mentoring leads to, the prodigy, in an informal mentoring process, who goes through that, usually the prodigy is happier since he was more of a seeker of the mentor out of admiration. Okay, he feels satisfied, he feels happy. The innate drivers for him to be attracted to this person once he sees acquiring, the traits of the mentor, he feels happy. All right. Remember, this one is not being pushed by any pressure. Nobody demands that he should be delivering some, performance. It's an informal thing. So it's in-driven, and the mentor, therefore, once he stays with the mentor, the mentee once stays with the mentor for some time, they feel happier and more satisfied. The people involved easily identify with each other, and therefore minimizes time wastage in trying to make the dyad compatible. Unlike in the formal mentorship, where we said the dyad needs to get a bit of time to get to know each other, to open up, and start relating. Here, the people involved easily identified with each other. Either way, whether the mentor begins the relationship or the mentee begins the relationship, there's no time wasted for them to get aligned, to become compatible. All right. The mentor, that's another the other outcome is the mentor is duplicated in more than one aspect, since there are no specific goals set. Okay. I don't know, but you may see certain people, if you're keen enough, when they have been in a mentorship in company of others, they do not only do things that they have been doing, but even the way they do them. Sometimes even the mannerism changes. Sometimes the mentee or the protege even acquires, the mannerism of the mentor, right? If they are the walking styles, if they speak and they open their eyes very widely, the gestures, all right? Sometimes the mentors, have got their own way of doing things. And maybe these are some of the things that attract the mentee to them. Maybe they're impressed by the way, forcefulness, or maybe calmness, or whatever it is. So the mentor is usually duplicated in more than one aspect, since there are no specific goals set. Due to its selective nature of the relationship, informal mentorship relationship can last between a number of years to a lifetime. Informal can be between a number of years or a short period to a lifetime, all right? And therefore, this is what makes it real, more natural, not mechanical, and therefore much more desirable, in my opinion. I'm sorry if I'm biasing you towards informal mentorship, because this is what I believe in more. Academicians have a way of a right to choose, or a freedom to choose between issues and concepts. But this is my beloved preference. And then the other outcome is the duplication of the mentors. All right, in informal mentoring, the mentors are usually duplicated. All right, because the admiration, keeps the mentee or the protege longer than in the other formal kind of thing. Now, observations in respect of the topic we're discussing. All right, this one you need to connect back to the topic we're discussing. Mentors and proteges need to be doing the same or similar things, or should be in the same culture. That's a very important observation. If you're mentoring somebody, you need to be doing the same or similar things. Like, for example, if you are in academics, you would mentor an academician. If you are in leadership, of whatever level. All right. It could be academic leadership. Yeah, academic leadership also, you take the academic leadership. You know, the mentor is a leader in the academic world, in the academia. The person is being mentored should be also in that. Martial arts, yeah, you should be doing martial arts to mentor a guy who likes martial arts. But if you are not there, you can't mentor somebody. A person in academics may not, mentor a person in martial arts, all right? Nor in leadership. If you are in public sector and you want somebody to be, to be mentored, you may not be able to mentor them, all right? You can, as an academic, academics can do those things. I think who the people here are called the intellectuals. We shall come to that later on. I think academics can do something about leadership, all right? But if an academic is not a leader himself, or is not in leadership, then he can't mentor. That's a very important observation about mentoring. There's that need to be doing the same or similar things. Then for mentorship to occur, there must be a matching of the dyads or an admiration of the protege for the mentor in the case of informal mentoring. Okay? You can't just come out of the blue and impose yourself on somebody and say, yeah, now I'm mentoring you, you need to do this. If he's not compatible with you, if he doesn't desire to be mentored, how do you do that? Okay, so that's also another very important. Formal mentorship needs resources as it takes place in a formal setting, such as the workplace. It needs resources. The informal may not need so many resources, so much resources. It's not resource emphasis. If the resources are there, fine and done there. Right? The mentor can provide, or the mentee can. Usually, it doesn't look well for a mentee to provide resources to the mentor, but if it's a reciprocal relationship anyway. Number 4, mentors must have experience, while proteges must show interest. This is also important. Okay, before we go into seeing whether we have academicians, rather we have intellectuals in Uganda who need to do mentoring others in leadership, we need to know that the mentors must have the experience, while the proteges must show the interest to be mentored. Now, the role of Muslim intellectuals in mentoring Muslim leaders. I took liberty to go into some bit of semantics and nomenclature at this stage, and therefore I want to make a kind of definition. An intellectual is a person with a highly developed intellect and is different from an intelligent person. All right? An intellectual is a person with a highly developed intellect and is usually different from being from an intelligent person. So every intelligent person is not very an intellectual. That's what I'm saying. According to the New Statesman newspaper published in the UK, in the past 150 years, the Muslim world has produced the following intellectuals. 150 years, 1.5 centuries. These are the intellectuals who we can talk of. Jamal Din al-Afghani, who died in 1879. Muhammad Abdu, who died in 1905. Muhammad Rashid Ridha, who died in 1935. Muhammad Iqbal, who died in 1938. Hassan al-Banna, who died in 1949. Sayyid Qutb, who died in 1977. Sayyid Abul Ala Maududi, who died in 1979. Ayatollah Khomeini, who died in 1989. And Tariq Ramadan, he's still alive, was born in 1962. Now, that is what defines an intellectual. Do you see anybody in that league as we speak now in our local Ugandan context? Do you have any person in that league? If you have one, then you can tell me to describe the role he has to play. But I'm afraid I've not come across one, right? Maybe there could be many people who are aspiring to get there, but I've not seen that. Those are examples. When you talk about an intellectual, that's what it means. These are also different from academicians. All right? You see the examples I've been giving. I've been talking about in academic institutions, university, faculty, blah, 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 right? Because they're different. Eh? We have got so many academicians, right? Even, a person like me, I can take the privilege of saying I'm an academician, but I can't claim to be an intellectual. Not yet. Not yet there. Okay. So our discussion tonight would really, those semantics are very important to guide us, should be really focusing on maybe the academics and what they can do, or in the formal setup. And then in the formal setup, I'll give you an example. Right? I'll give you a case study in the informal sector. But in the formal, maybe we shall talk about what the academics can do. Okay. This to give you a hang of what intellectual Muslim may mean. I mean, that's what the slide was about. The role of Muslim intellectuals now are putting it into, into quotes in mentoring. Those Muslim intellectuals were able to play a significant role in mentoring Muslim leaders in their milieu, since we have both their students and followers as well as admirers. Okay, the likes of Hassan al-Banna, Sayyid Abul Ala Maududi. We have their students, we have their followers, we have their admirers. Many people all over the Muslim world, you'll find them, either following Wahhabi, like Abdul Wahhab. I think I mentioned him. Muhammad Abdul Wahhab is one of the intellectuals. All right. Many people want to admire. They want to be like him, to go into his footsteps. All right. We have got his students. We see the followers and even admirers. In our midst, we may not be having truly Muslim intellectuals of that magnitude. But do we have any? We don't have any. We don't have any. I'm not sure. I've not come across one. All right? I've not come across one Muslim intellectual who measures to the definition. Maybe we have academicians, right? Yeah, people involved in teaching and research in academic institutions. Yes, those ones we can talk about their role. All right? If we leave out the intellectuals, they are class apart. Somebody said, you leave the issues of the generals to the generals. If the intellectuals are the generals here, put them aside. Now we have a conversation about what you and me and many people out there can be able to do something, right? We have academicians who are involved in teaching and research in academic institutions. But are these academicians in leadership positions? Because remember, the first observation is you mentor one in whose culture you are sharing. But if you're an academician, in Makerere or in Mtesa, the first Royal University, you can't come to the Supreme Council and say, I want to be your mentor. The environment doesn't allow you. You can do some things different. You can do other things that I shall mention later on. But you can't claim to say, oh, now, you see, for us, we are, at IU, and we are academicians, we are from the Faculty of Islamic Studies, so we are going to Nakasero Mosque to mentor imams. Hey, my brother, except if they were the chief imam at IU, like you were one Dr. Sulight Kavali. If you're Dr. Sulight Kavali, the chief imam at IU, and you want to mentor the imams in Nakasero or in other places, then maybe you can. But if you're not an imam, you cannot mentor an imam. Because what will you do? What skills, what impartation are you going to be doing? What are you going to do with this person who is mentor? How is he admiring you? You are not an imam, even if it's in the informal setup, by the way. Even if it's in the same informal setup. All right? That condition, that observation of you be doing the same thing or similar is very, very, pivotal. Now, we are saying we have got academicians, but the academicians, are they in leadership positions? A dean in the academic institution can mentor, all right? He can mentor because the people in the faculty are like looking up to him. He's their supervisor. He can show them how things are done. How do you run a faculty? A head of department would want to know how a faculty is run. Okay? And this could be done either way, formally or informally. But at least you need to be a faculty person within the faculty. Okay? Now, if we have got academicians who are in leadership positions, like my brother, Professor Omar Kakumba in Makerere University. Okay? Now, that one can mentor so many, to become academic leaders. But you are thinking of Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, you are thinking of local government, you are thinking of schools, head teachers in schools. My brother, my sister, you need to be one there for you to mentor others in that kind of institution. If they are they admired? Yeah, now I'm opening a Pandora box for us academicians. If we can mentor people in the formal sector or in the informal, rather in the academic leadership, are we admired? Do the people we are teaching, do the people we stand in front every day, the people we are supervising, the things we do to them, do they make them admire us? When you go to teach in a class, or for you students to be admiring you, you need to be delivering substance. You need to be updating your notes, lecture notes, every semester, every other year. You need to look real, a person delivering. But if people don't admire you, then how can you? We need to first become experts, recognized. They don't have to admire us, maybe, but somebody out there should be able to spot and say, yeah, this person has got what it takes to be a good academician. We want to duplicate him. We want to be him to mentor in the formal sector, in the formal sense. In the informal sense, these people who come by themselves, do they admire? Are they admirable? Are you that kind of academician that can be, or intellectual, that in quotes, that can be admired by the young people, by those who are looking up to you? Are there any people looking up to you? If they are admired, are they open to take on the young leaders? Sometimes when people are admired, the admiration gets on, their success and achievements gets on their heads, and they become arrogant, and they become, they know everything. They don't have to listen. They don't have to ask questions. They are not questionable. They get filled up. They get puffed up, like puff daddies, So if they are not, then how can the mentorship be done? Remember, we're discussing, intellectuals mentoring leaders. Now, what kind of leaders are we talking about? Are we talking about leaders, intellectuals from Makerere, IU, Nkumba, Mtesa, the First University, to go and mentor people out their realm, their domain of operations, their domain of work? So where are the Muslim intellectuals? Where are the Muslim leadership top projects at, by the way? Okay? Where are the young Muslim leaders found? If the academics, we as academicians, if we want to mentor, we forget about the intellectuals. Where do we find them? In schools, maybe in the universities. Are they in the hospitals, in public sector, private sector, such as organizations and firms? Are these led by academicians, let alone intellectuals? When we want to mentor those people, are they doing what we are doing? If in the public sector, am I an intellectual in this public sector to go and mentor people there? All right. Are they interested in leadership? By the way, there's this kind of call that is common. We need to mentor we need to train future leaders, to get the leaders. Are they there? Are the people we are looking at interested? That's why I prefer, I have a lot of, preference for the informal mentoring process or tradition. Because there, a person who admires a protege, who admires a mentor, already is, once he approaches, all these questions are answered. He's interested. You can't ask them whether they're interested in what you want to be mentored in. Okay? Where do they want to see themselves? Those young people that we want to mentor as leaders, right? Are they not considered a threat to the sitting leaders? This is quite interesting. Okay? When mentoring, are you, you're an academician, or you're in academic leadership. You're leading institutions, all right? Like I do myself, at Sabasa Jakabaka's University. If I'm bringing up this, administrative assistant or this head of department, administrative department, and I'm showing him, am I comfortable? Don't I have this kind of feeling that, hey, this guy may want to take over my position? You understand? By the time you go out to pick that person and say, hey, come, I want you to show you how things are done properly. You're a person who is so secure. Mentors must be very secure if they're going to be successful in mentoring. Otherwise, we have seen this culture of PhD. Have you heard about it? The bad thing is I'm online and I cannot interact with the audience. I like asking questions and they want to see whether they are feeling me. When you heard of the culture of PhD, the push him down kind of syndrome, it's very common in academic leadership, because, I'm the only professor in the faculty. Now and in the establishment, there's only one position of the faculty, professor. So if I promote this guy and he comes in as associate professor, then we can't be two professors. And I'm older. Therefore, this guy is going to push me out. No, I push him down. I don't give him all the academic leadership traits, techniques, the good practices, the secrets. They even call them secrets. You keep them to yourself because if this guy is so ambitious, he's coming so rapidly up the ladder, he's going to unseat you. Are they not considered a threat? Those young leadership proteges, that push him down is not only, by the way, common in academic institutions only. I think in all organizations. So if the mentors are really not secure and not open up to the others, maybe the mentorship cannot. All right? Do the leadership want to leave? By security, I mean the mentors, they always see themselves as going, as living, not really necessarily as retiring, but as going by Allah's will. Of course, that means also Allah's will. But in case you drop dead tomorrow, who takes on the university? Who takes on the organization? So a mentor would be in that kind of frame of mind. That anytime we can go, if we were to leave so suddenly, Baghdatan, who do I leave behind? So as we speak of mentoring, we need to be aware, we need to be sure that the mentors available have got the kind of experience, the kind of security, the kind of vision, the kind of thinking, reflection of not seeing themselves in the picture tomorrow. I've got a problem, especially within not only the Muslim community, actually, in the general African context. A person gets into a position and they don't want to live until after 40 years. until their son grows up and comes and sits in the chair. You know, somebody leaves the university and wants to be there forever. So how will he mentor? Because when you mentor, the mentors, the mentees, the proteges should be able to come and, you know, duplicate yourself, and then you leave the stage. From the direction of this conversation, it's actually clear that we are looking at academic knowledge, academic or knowledge leadership. And this is likely to happen in universities and schools. And this is where Islamic leadership can be made. You know, we can only mentor in academic institutions, in schools. If you're a headmaster, I have a brother, my kid brother, Hamza Zavunya, is a headmaster in a certain school somewhere. I don't know whether he shares the secrets with the deputy. Okay? Or you, I mean, if you are, you have given a chance to be in any school there, or in any company for that matter. But in terms of Islamic Muslim leadership, I want to be inclined to talk more on the Muslim leadership. And I've made a point here looking at academic or knowledge leadership. Knowledge leadership. Muslims cannot be leaders when they are not knowledgeable. Yeah, we don't want to promote psychopaths. You know, you don't want to promote people who cannot really, who don't have possess the knowledge. Okay. Let us see, maybe, I don't know how much time I have. I have 2 good damn hours. Wow. Wow, it's just 10 o'clock. Okay, I've got an hour. I would want to engage more with yes, I would want to engage more, of course, with my audience, but let me try to move a little bit faster. Exactly. So, Muslim intellectual practices of the past. Now, in the past, we have intellectuals. Right? All Muslim intellectuals of the past, such as Shafi'i, rahimahullah, Maliki, Ibn Hanbali, rahimahumullah, you know, Abu Hanifa, were mentors in their own rights. Okay? Those people qualify to be intellectuals, not academic, not academicians, they're intellectuals. Eh? All these were fuqaha who had students that followed their footpaths and whom they issued certificates. You could say they were also formal, because they used to issue ijaza. You know, ijaza, you know, I certify, so has been a student of mine, and he can go and teach and disseminate, you know, ideas like I've taught him. By the way, you also need to know that these Muslim intellectuals of the past, Shafi, Malik, Ibn Hanbali, and Abu Hanifa, were not aware. They were not aware that they were actual intellectuals. For them, they lived ordinary lives. That's why they had got so many students. You know, and they would impart into information, knowledge, etiquettes, behavior, good conduct. You know, all these were fuqaha, and they had students who followed. I think you know that, right? I don't want to go into this. That be a discussion for another day. Another unique category of mentors who are not necessarily fuqaha intellectuals were the managers of zawiyas that belongs to the Sufi tariqas. You know, the tasawwuf or the Sufi, the mutasawwifin, were very key in the dissemination of the message of Islam, where there was no missionarism and so on and so forth. Now, they had established institutions. A sheikh's home, all right, would have a lot of space. Maybe hostels could be attached to a home, or it could have a different center, a zawiya, where many of the novices, all right, the murid would go and be mentored, all right? At each zawiya, the Tariqa recruited, novices. And these were informally mentored into the ethos of the Tariqa. Many of you have heard about the 19th century jihads in West Africa, right? You heard about the Tijani, Tijani Brotherhood, Tijani Tariqa. There was Tariqa Qadariya, right? Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, right? His is a very powerful Tariqa. Here in East Africa, we have the Shadili, Tariqa Shadili, very powerful one. First in Kitosi, and then nowadays it's in this side where Sheikh Mundu is. Very powerful tariqa. I mean, now that Sheikh mentors, the people who are the leaders in that tariqa, and every tariqa, mentored person who has mastered the ethos of the tariqa would establish another zawiya, and then so and so on, and they spread Islam and they spread there. That's mentorship. Now, Muslim mentorship tradition in Uganda, the case of Sheikh Ali Kurumba, Sheikhs Ali Kurumba and Ahmad Mukasa. Sheikh Ali Kurumba, rahimahullah, and Ahmad Mukasa, rahimahullah, were mentor and mentee. Mentor and protege. And their relationship was informal. It was informal and lifelong. Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa became a student of Sheikh Ali Kurumba at the age of 12, when he taught him at Mende, where Sheikh Ali Kurumba had been posted as Imam. Now, this relationship that was initiated by the mentor, not the mentee, the mentor. Sheikh Ali Kurumba was posted in Mende as an Imam, and he started looking around kids to teach Quran, to teach the basic sciences of Islamic sciences. So he phoned my father, Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa, happens to be my father, by the way, and he convinced my grandfather that, yeah, maybe I want to take this child and train him. He can become a good imam. At that time, my dad was in P4, studying formal school. There was a Christian school somewhere on the village, and Sheikh Ali Kurumba withdrew him. Finally, of course, in the beginning they used to share him, share his. He would study in the morning, English and other secular subjects, and then in the afternoon he would be taught by Sheikh Kurumba. But then Sheikh Kurumba eventually withdrew him completely, and he took him onto a mentoring course. Right? He imparted on him knowledge of the primary sciences of Islam, such as Quran recitation, ulum al-hadith, fiqh, and the like, before placing him into the hands of Sheikh Shuaib Semakulat Khatib. Now, maybe Sheikh Kurumba as an imam didn't have a lot of time to stay with the kid and train him on all this. He registered him in the most prosperous, most prestigious school at that time. Before the greatest sheikh, the greatest leader of the Shadri Tariqa also, he takes him there and just enlists him there. Their relationship was so intimate that one time I went to the home of Sheikh Ahmada's friend, and that was Sheikh Ali Mubiru, all right, in Nkozi. We had the function there, and Sheikh Ali Mubiru picked up. He was talking about Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa and picked up a list of his report, a report, actually, a copy of his report, school report. And there he read the names of the students. All the students who were in that class at that time, all of them were on every student's report. So when he reached Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa's name, he read, his name was Ahmad Ali. Now, Ahmad Ali, and how come? I was wondering, how come? He said, oh, his name, because Sheikh Ali Kurumba is the one who took him to that school, he registered him almost as his son. Or the people there registered him as his son. It wasn't Ahmad Adam. Adam was Haji Adam Kasule was my grandfather, was the father of my father, of Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa. His name was Ahmad Ali. You see the kind of relationship. It was so deep and lifelong that even at one stage, the mentee, the protege, took on the name of the mentor. MashaAllah. Extremely powerful, MashaAllah. You know? He imparted, he enlisted him as an imam thereafter. He enlisted him as an imam at Mende, instructed him on all ethos of imamship when he became the county Twali chief, or Twali Sheikh. County Sheikh Ali Kurumba became the Twali Sheikh, or the county Sheikh, and he had to leave behind an imam. So he mentored my dad, mentored Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa, put him in that position. But as an imam, these are some of the ethos that he went through. He said, you can't become an imam without being married. And Sheikh Ahmad was a young man, about 18 years. He said, like, now, me, I don't have a job, I don't work, I don't have income. He said, no, don't worry. I'm going to go. We need to get a woman. We're going to get a lady to marry. He did all what that was necessary and got him a wife who happens to be my mother. You know? Now, an imam should be a complete person, should be a married person, so that he can handle the affairs as they are, as they come by, should have experience, should be respected. His moral, integrity shouldn't be brought to question. It should be stable. An imam should have his mind collected together. And the wives do that very many times, pretty well. They make us get gathered, composed. To be an answer. You have to be with Ubuntu. An imam should be having Ubuntu because they are married, when they get married. So that's one of the things Sheikh Ali Kurumba did for Sheikh Ahmad. Now, he was imam when he was promoted to the level of maybe for people who may not know the structure of Muslim leadership in Uganda, it goes like this. At that time, of course, there was the Sheikh al-Islam, right? Who also happened to be, a very close associate with the Prince Kasim, rather Prince Badru Nachibinge, Badru Kakunguru, sorry, at Kibuli, all right? And from him, there was the titular leader of the Muslim community. Then there was the Sheikh al-Islam, who was leading the entire Muslim community in religious matters, in religious affairs. And then below him, there were county sheikhs. They were not district qadis at that time. The district qadi, or the chief qadi, then district qadi, and then the county sheikh, and then the imam. That structure was a new one. It came in as with the creation of the Uganda Muslim Council. But before, it was the titular head, rather the head of the Muslim community, all right? And then below him, immediately, the Bakuruba Matwali, the county sheikhs. Now, Sheikh Kurumba was promoted to a county sheikh of Usiro. Then he had to leave the position of imam and he put in Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa after having trained him for some time. Ali Sheikh Ali Kulumba advocated for his appointment to Ali Sheikh when he was promoted to higher ranks. When Sheikh Ali Kulumba was promoted to higher ranks, he advocated. You know, you remember there was advocacy in the mentoring process. Earlier on, as we were talking, there's advocacy. He mentored, he advocated for the appointment of Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa as the Tuare Sheikh. And he indeed became the Tuare Sheikh. Sheikh Ahmad served as Tuare Sheikh of Busiro County, all right, under the mentorship of Ali for over 40 years. It's a lifelong dedication. This tells you who Sheikh Ali Kulumba was. All right? Mentoring somebody and he stays in the position for 40 years, showing him how to do things. Actually, Sheikh Ahmad, I don't know if you can look in the camera, can you adjust it? Is it clearly visible? Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa wrote his memoirs, all right? Sheikh al-Islam Ahmad Mukasa memoirs. And of all the pictures, of all the cover pages that he chose to be, he said, I'll be there with my mentor. Those two, they have a relationship of a mentor and protege. So this person writing his memoirs, Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa wrote his memoirs in this booklet. He chose to put there his mentor on the cover page. He's sending a message out there that all what achieved here, of course, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's desire and kudura, it was because of this man. That's the message he's sending out. He is his mentor. And when I looked at this picture, I thought maybe he would change it, but I said no. When he explained to me, he said, you don't know how many messages are there in that picture. All right? They are both gone. But this was mentorship at its best. In those 40 years, now in this booklet, Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa explains his role, what he did as a county sheikh. And one of the statements he made in here, he says, of all the hierarchies, of all the people in the leadership, structure of the Muslims in Uganda, the county chief, the county sheikh, Omukuru Wetwale, is the most critical. He is the most critical. And all the things that he did as a county sheikh are in this booklet, right? He published this book in 20 what? 20 yeah? It was in 2014, I think. 2014. All right. When he was commemorating 80 years of age. And he published this book. He wrote this book. It's not yet published, it's still a manuscript. But the 40 years, Sheikh Kulumba was never leaving his side. That's thorough mentorship. When many people talked about good things about Sheikh Ahmad when he had passed away, they need to be reminded. All that kind of integrity, all the whatever position you held him in, there was this man here behind him. And that's mentorship. Sheikh Ali Kulumba introduced Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa to Prince Badru Kakunguru and became a junior imam when Sheikh Ali was a senior imam at Kibuli. You see, introducing the protege into social structures, lobbying for them, advocating for them. When Sheikh Ali Kulumba was promoted to chief imam, he brought Ahmad Mukasa here at Kibuli, in this mosque here, the Grand Mosque. And in 1965, in November, Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa was appointed the chief imam when Sheikh Ali Kurumba was promoted to other ranks. Later on, Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa became the chief imam at Kibuli when Ali Kurumba was promoted. And I said, in 1972, Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa was appointed Secretary for Religious Affairs when Sheikh Kurumba, was elected deputy chief Qadi from in Kabale. So he's always, they are moving together. This is successful mentorship. You know, when Sheikh Ahmad became Mufti of Uganda, finally, Sheikh Ali was one of his chief advisors. MashaAllah. I'm yet to see another dyad like this one. I'm yet to see one. Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa was so generous and left us this book, his memoirs. For anybody out there who may not know what memoirs are, this is the life story of the author, written by himself. It's not a biography. Biographies are usually written by other people, but memoirs are written by Jemvude Wange. This is what I've done. And in this book, he writes in the first person singular. You know, first person plural. I, we did this, I did this, we went this, we did this, I did this. That's the first person. Okay? He has everything documented. All right? I know some people may want to have a copy of this. I have some of them, but we can make arrangements and you can see if you can have one. When Sheikh Ali died, before even he died, there's this other thing that he did. Sheikh Ali Kurumba, having served in Busiro County as the Twale Sheikh for a long time, and having put his mentee there, his protege there for 40 years, long after he had retired, in 2003, Sheikh Ali Kurumba formed an organization which he called Sekabaka No Hukarema Memorial Foundation. Registered this as an NGO, a local NGO. He was the chairman board of trustees. Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa was the vice chairman board of trustees. Guys, this is proper mentorship. You know, this is proper mentorship. And when Sheikh Ali Kurumba died, Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa, became the chairman of that. That organization is still around. All right. I happen to be chosen by Sheikh Ali Kurumba to be on the board of trustees by himself, and it's registered. We are doing all the accounts. We submit our returns. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Internal Affairs, and our license is up and alive. It's 5 years. Right? Every year we renew for 5 years. It's legit, very, very legit. When Sheikh Ali died, he was speaker at the Buganda Luchiko at Mengo, Buganda Kingdom government. Those who knew his mentorship relationship suggested that Ahmad Mukasa becomes the successor speaker. But Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa declined and instead suggested Haji Kadri Serunkuma, who was a biological son, I think, of Ali Kurumba, to be appointed. And he was subsequently appointed. So this is the kind of person, a mentor who doesn't fear, who has no insecurity around himself that this mentee is going to be coming and take over, is overthrow him. No, he's always cuddling him, bringing him all along. All right. And in conclusion, therefore, we may not be having intellectuals in our midst right now in Uganda. So doing justice to the paper, to the presentation, we may not be having intellectuals in Uganda because that's a very high rank of achievement that we have not achieved, have not seen it today. However, we have got academicians who can train young people into leadership. Yeah. What we academicians can do I'm not saying because there are no mentors here, therefore we leave the future leadership of this country to the dogs. No, we academicians, we can. The intellectual people who I think they call us intellectuals. We academicians. We can do something. We can train young people into leadership. Because training and mentoring are totally two different concepts. All right? Where we are as academicians, we are duty bound actually to train leadership. Yeah, we can train people to become leaders. That's what we do in universities. Okay? When people come and do public administration or whatever administration, business administration or whatever administration, we train them. We don't mentor them. We train them, and then they can become good people. Now, after getting there, wherever they have landed as leaders, then the onus is on them to mentor those people. What does this tell you? It tells you that our relationship, working relationship, me, I'm in academic leadership, all right? As Deputy Vice Chancellor, I'm in academic leadership. My relationship with the people that I do supervise, the people who report to me, is a very secure one. Very secure. Because I don't think anybody that I mentor, that I show around to do things properly, is about to take over my position. I'm not scared. I'm not worried. Because I may not even have to end the contract. I can pack, tomorrow or tonight and go. So what happens? Okay? Academicians, if you're in a position of academic leadership, please mentor. Don't keep secrets. Don't play your cards close to your chest, as they say. No, open them put them on the table for everybody to know, to see. And by the way, the more people learn from you, the more they respect. The more they respect. The two individuals, the case we have just observed here, you would want to see how Sheikh would behave at home when Sheikh Ali Kurumba has come at home. He wouldn't sit in the chair. He would sit down on the ground. Then the Sheikh would enjoy his seat. The mentor would enjoy. The mentees sit in their house, in his house. Okay? So, academicians at the university or college can mentor those they work with. Okay? In all fairness, this paper should have been what the academicians can do to mentor leadership in academic leadership or train leadership in other positions. Okay? Mentorship should not be left to the intellectuals and academicians. The current leaders should mentor those they are working with. All right? Because very few academicians are leaders. Forget about the intellectuals. Very few of us academicians are leaders. Now, the mentorship, if we want to have leaders all over, in all our establishments, religious leadership at the mosque level, religious leadership at the county level, religious leadership at the district level, and at the headquarters. The sitting muftis should mentor people who are going to become muftis. In other cases, they call it succession plan. Good practices in organizations do have those things in place. Succession plan, and people know. It can be put there. Succession plan, you put it in the rector's office or in the vice chancellor's office, so people can know. But what we see, what we have observed, could be a very different story. Okay? When you mentor people, it's not true. When you mentor people, the intention is not them to take over from you when you are still in need of that position. That's a false insecurity. And unfortunately, it is so much abound, so much around us. Yeah. You go into a place and a person doesn't even want to take leave. Yeah? He's supervising a department, but doesn't even want to take his leave because he feels that if he leaves, the acting person may start getting to know how he does things and then maybe become one before he comes back from leave. That's not correct. Everybody has got a contract or terms where they serve. But assume you are not dead and you are not retired, that your contract is not renewed. So what happens if you have not mentored, if you don't have that succession plan? The succession plan details out who should be mentored, who is mentoring who. If you're talking of Muslims in Uganda, we don't have so many organizations to lead. We don't have so many that are exclusively ours. You're talking about Supreme Council, you're talking about Islamic University in Uganda, you're talking about Gaddafi, what is it called? College. The college at Gaddafi Mosque. They'll be in college. I've heard the name. All right? Those are the ones. And then secondary and primary schools. You find in the school, the head teacher is doing quite well. But one person stands out very clearly. I want to confess. That is Al-Haji Abbas Kawase. I think he did some mentoring. Yes, before he left Tripoli. He did some mentoring. But I also want to know, are the mentors always as good as their as the mentees, the prodigies? Are they always good? As good as their mentors? Not always. We may want to achieve, we want to emulate, we may admire the mentor, and we fail. We fail on so many other traits. And the worst is when you fail to measure up to the integrity of your mentor, then you are doomed. Thank you very much. Wallahu alam bisawab. Over to you, moderator. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
MashaAllah. Thank you very much, Professor. We are grateful. We are thankful that you've given us your time. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you in abundance.
Ameen ya Rabbi.
Colleagues and members, we are going to open up the floor so that anyone can come in and put a question to Prof. So members, please feel free. Please come on, please. Can you come in with your question, please, again?
Well, let me get a piece of paper.
Professor, someone asked a question, and I think it's Farida Chambade. She just
in the chat room, huh?
Yeah, in the chat room.
Okay.
Can you see it, or we can read it to you?
Yes, I can see it. I can read it. Professor Kasule, thanks, Professor Kasule, for your submission. In your leadership capacity as an individual, what formal and informal activities have you put in place to support mentorship? Can mentorship programs in our institutions, if there's now one to supervise or follow up the results impact, how would we deal with those mentees who feel they have arrived and use PhD method or on their mentors and other workmates? This is what happens sometimes. Yeah. Farida, thank you very much for this. Good question. In your leadership capacity as an individual, what formal and informal activities have you put in place to support mentorship? Yeah, one of the things that I encourage myself, is to be transparent, open, and anybody who comes to my office to ask for anything, I give it to them honestly. I don't have secrets. Now, for the mentorship to take place, there must be two people. If you recall, right? There must be the mentee who is willing and ready, and then the mentor. All right. So where I am right now, currently, I've not seen, any person who says they want to be mentored. But I can see people who would always come to you and say, Prof, how is this one done? Prof, now I'm confiding in you. Please show me how. Then I show. But they're not really permanently attached to me, or I've not seen anybody coming so consistently, because maybe they are not there. Those who would want to be mentored, maybe they're not yet there. I've not seen them come. But whoever comes to me, by the way, as a policy, I don't close my door when I sit in my office. All right? Because sitting behind that desk is an amana, it's an agreement that I agreed to come to sit there and serve. So anybody comes in for nasiha, advice I give. Anybody who wants to help them publish, read their papers, read the academic work, guide them, I do. But I've not seen anybody coming to say, now, show me this and show me the other, and show me the other, and show me the other, all of them, right? I don't know. I've not seen one come in the capacity of mentorship, all right? Because I can only mentor where I'm working, or somebody else from another institution who wants to be maybe guided on what we do, okay? But in terms of training, I have a colleague of mine, Associate Professor Kalema Chiwewa Abdurrahman. We have a team of young people, the young Muslim professionals. Many of them are still at the university. We sit down with them somehow regularly, and we share things that they would want to know from us as senior members of the community, of the Muslim community. We do that. I have got that circle of their young people and from different professions. I've got engineers, we've got medics, we've got nurses. Actually, I talk to the nurses here next door. I get sessions with them and tell them, teach them, train them. I can't start mentoring them because I'm not a nurse, but I can train them. I can tell them, share my story. Some talk, that can inspire them and make them better people. That one is also ongoing. It's a continuous process. It's not a one-off like Ramadan Convention is. It's continuous. So those are the places that I can think of right now. But you said, can mentorship programs in our institutions, if there is no one to supervise? Yeah, if it is formal in institutions, if it is formal, I'm afraid you have to make a formal, a formal process, formal procedure, a formal establishment, and then people are given those responsibilities, those who are willing, all right? They can go and engage and look for the mentors, or there are the mentees in their classes as they teach. At the Islamic University in Uganda, before I left, I picked on two individuals, if I can mention, two individuals that I felt
Salam.
Moderator, we are no longer listening, Dr. Omar. Something wrong must have happened.
I think something is wrong. We're trying to figure out, and we shall get back very soon, inshallah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry for that glitch. These are things of technology. I was saying that these people that we're teaching are still new. Maybe when we identify those who are interested, we can take on mentoring them. Yeah, that's what I can say about that. Yeah, the other one is pushing him down. The question, can you display the chat? The chat is gone. What do we do with those people who, instead of mentoring, want to push others down? The PhD guys. All right. Well,
Professor,
my
you
appeal to them.
You had stopped at when you left IUIU. When you left IUIU, you had done some stuff. That's where we lost you.
At IUIU.
When you left IUIU, you had done some. You had left behind some. It stopped somewhere there like that.
Okay. Yeah. Before I left IUIU, I was saying I knew I was going to leave, and then I trained those guys, the lady and the gentleman, hoping that they would become, take over the Islamic studies subject and promote it, be leaders in that subject. Because my ambitions at that time were maybe when I leave IUIU, I would want to go into academic, real big time academic administration. That was my ambition, and alhamdulillah, yeah, that's where I am right now. So I thought there was somebody necessary to be in the faculty and take on the Islamic studies subject. Its leadership in the country is very, very important. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? In the chat room?
Hello.
And is that your admission exclusive?
May I come in, sir?
Okay, you can come in.
Thank you very much, Prof. My name is Imtiaz Ahmed. I'm a professor here at Lukanya University and Director of Postgraduate Studies. I just want to congratulate you that it was a very thought-provoking submission you gave to us. It's very interesting as well. There are some concerns about leadership and mentorship. I just want to raise it there. That the criteria to be a leadership, to be a leader of a community currently right now, what should be? Whether it should be an academician, administrative, or both. The second thing, which I want to raise it, that while you were delivering the lecture at that time, and I found that imam and leader must be married. Without married, he shouldn't be considered as a mentor or leader of a community. While you also mentioned during this time the several sects. Generally, we know about the Sufis, the four Sufi sects. Among these four Sufi sects, we have Naqshbandiya, Qalandariya, Sohrawardiya, and Tijaniya. Mostly we found out that when we go through them, mostly they were not married, but they were the leader, as you have mentioned there while you were delivering the lecture during that period as well. So is it necessary for any leader to be married? Now, the third one, which I just want to raise it here, the point which that the fuqahas, I mean the jurists of the time, among these fuqaha, among these jurists of the time, Imam Hanifa, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Hanbal, Imam Malik. We found out that they were very much specialized in the jurisprudential issues.
I'm not getting
Why?
you.
Okay, can you get me?
I'm not getting you. The
right now,
sound is not good here. Can I have a headphone?
Yeah. I have headphone now. I'm talking in headphone. So can I repeat it?
I'm here in the studio where I am. I'm wondering if I could have a headphone so that I can your voice can be sharp at me.
Hello,
Otherwise it's loud.
Hello, can you hear me, sir, Prof? Right
Yes,
now?
I can hear you, but not very clearly.
Okay. So let me talk directly without headphone. Now, can you hear me directly now?
Yes, I can hear you. Please come again.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I have to repeat and I have to go over from back. First of all, I want to congratulate you. The topic you have chosen, the leadership and membership, is very, very informative. And really, it will help to the community of Ummah in generally. There are some concerns which I want to raise here because in the concern of the leadership that an academician particularly can be a mentor, administrator in academic field or any institution, academic institution can be a mentor or not, or the both quality must be required for the leadership or mentorship. Secondly, that you're mentioning about that a imam must be married. If a imam is not married, can he be a leader or not? Is it mandatory for them? If that is the case, you raise the concern about the Sufis. Among these Sufis, generally we know about the 4 sects. Among them, Qadariya, Qalandariya, Naqshbandiya, and Tijaniya, and Sohrawardiya, one of them also. But these leader of in the academic in the leadership, mostly they were not married, but they were a leader. Through them, millions of the people they converted to Islam as well, as we know about it. They became a role model to the entire community. Even still today, in several parts of the world, they are doing their job. There are millions followers they have without the marriage. Now, the third thing which I want to know about it, that these people basically, these sect, a Sufi sect, they practice the aloofness. While the same scholar you mentioned, one of the most intellectual man, Allama Iqbal, he was against of the aloofness. According to him, I think so, those who are practicing on aloofness, this known as ruhbaniyat, in Islam, the ruhbaniyat, which seems to be like not very much used for the most of the community in Islam as well. Are these people are be counted as a leader in a Muslim community? I'm sorry, there are 3-4 questions. The last concern, if you hear me, sir, is that the jurist, the fuqaha, among these, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik, and Imam Hanbal, these were very much specialized in their own particular areas of the jurisprudence. But they were the leader, they were the mentor. Generally, they were not in that area where the scholar, the normal things, the general concept of the leadership, they were not fulfilling that one, but they were the leader as well. So it means that whether a particular leader or mentor has a kind of the concept that he can be the leader of community while he is specialized with one area only. Hope, Prof, you understand.
Yes, yes, I get you.
You have said it. So I'll be
Yes.
happy to answer it. But anyhow, thank you very much for that. And I just want to introduce myself that I'm a professor here at Lukenya University in Kenya. I'm a director of postgraduate studies. And really, it was very information. I've joined this conference since yesterday. And I found that the Muslim community seem to be really doing a very good job in IUIU. I hope that they will continue it. And thank you very much for all what you did for that. Thank you very much.
Barakallah Fik. Yes, Ahmed. I'm sorry the voice here was not very clear, but I think I grasped something that you've been saying. Your question was concerned was whether it is necessary for any leader to be married. All right, whether is it a necessity, is it a condition for a leader or an imam to be married? Of course, it's not. But you know, when you say it's a condition, then it would mean that if somebody is not, you know, married, then he can't lead prayers, or he can't do any leadership, you know, issues. They can. It's not a condition, but it's a good practice. It should be a good practice that an imam, especially a young man who is just beginning life, you know, the light journey of life at 18, you're going to be an imam at 18, and you are not married, and you know, you stay for 10 years without being married, you get issues. But an old man like me, right, either because I'm divorced or because I am widowed and I've been imam, it doesn't prevent me, all right? It doesn't necessarily, I may not be able to marry again, but I'm just giving an example. But it's not a condition that every you know, leader must be married, but it's a good thing. Actually, not only in leadership, in ordinary Muslim lives. You know, the Prophet ﷺ encourages us to encourage our young people, you know, boys and girls, to marry as soon as they can, because marriage is for us is ibadah. You know, it's ibadah. So if the ordinary Muslim is encouraged to do that, why wouldn't one who is going to be taking leadership, you know, position get married? The experience that I was talking about in the presentation is, for example, when a person is imam in Uganda, what are his responsibilities? What are his KPIs? Key performance, you know, performance indicators of an imam. What are they? What are his responsibilities? One of them is guiding people in the population, in the community, to live good marital life, good family life. Now, if you are not married, you don't know about issues of marriage, how can you give, you know, advice? All right? Actually, it reminds me, because of that particular KPI of the imams, Sheikh Ahmad Mukasa wrote another booklet, all right, which is called, it's in Uganda in the local language here, it's called Obulambo Bufumbo Bobusina, Married Life in Islam. Based on his experience, because as a counted sheikh and also an imam, those are very, very common things, you know. Now, if you are an imam and you are single, you know, people in your followers may not be able to bring trace issues concerning family. They will be like, what does he know? If there are ladies who want to complain, how do they approach you? If you are married, it is easier. They go through the wife to you and they make the lodge a complaint. You know, these are the local kind of setups that we are talking about that would be good. It would be a recommendation. If we're on a panel appointing imams and there are 3 guys or 2 guys, one of them very good, not married, another one okay, but married, I'll take the married guy. He's more stable and he's more, you know, kind of thing. Can academicians mentor? Yeah, academicians can mentor academicians. All right. They can mentor academicians. They can't mentor market goers, market vendors, because they're not there. All right. But they can train. The two are different. Training and mentoring are different. Okay. I wanted to stick to the mentoring because that's our gist of discussion. All right. And the examples that we have given are about mentoring and not training. Sufis were not married. I don't know, but members, you need to know the Sufi way of life. It is not an etiquette or an ethos that Sufi leaders do not get married. No, they get married. All right. Actually, many of the great leaders were married. But as they go on developing in the Sufi, hierarchy and the Sufi achievements, they reach a stage of seclusion. They reach a stage where they need to be secluded. And the seclusion, many times, requires them maybe to leave family and they go and live on their own, right? With the Arab, all right? And be at complete service, right? That's a discussion that, so maybe when you talk of this Sufi shuyukh, right, of the Tariqas and Naqshbandi and the others, Allama Akbar may not have been married, but doesn't have children. At one stage in their lives, they go into seclusion and they kind of abandon the family. I would say.
Allama Akbar was married. Sorry, folks. Allama Akbar was married and he has a children.
Come again?
I said Allama Akbar was married. Allama Akbar was married.
But it was just aloof. You talked about aloofness.
Yeah. But
that is with it.
Sheikh Sabuddin Sohrawardi, these are Sufis. Mostly they were not married.
Yes, but they did get married. I mean, they were married, but at a particular stage in their life of the ladder of Sufi, of Tasawwuf, of achievement of Sufi, objectives, they abandoned the family because we know they had children, and if they don't have children, if they had children, then how can you say they don't marry? Okay, but in any case, I'm not claiming that leadership must go with marriage. No, I mean, some people may not be married. They can become validly, they can be leaders, but it's a good practice for a leader to be married so that people can connect with you, and you can also be more organized. A married man and a bachelor don't behave the same way. I think you're aware. Even their mental status, mental, preparedness, and the way they address issues, of governance and administration is not the same. All right, they do differ. The fuqaha were specialized. You said they did mentor. The fuqaha, in as far as leadership is concerned, they were academic leaders. All right, that's why they had students who expounded even their thoughts, expounded and even explained their studies and made them. Actually, it is the students of the fuqaha who created the schools of thought of the fuqaha. The fuqaha themselves, no faqih, created the school of his own consciously. They were not. They did not make those schools, but their students, the people they mentored into argumentation, into methods of delivering the message, methods of doing, of answering, of approach to problems of Sharia. I mean, they mentored them, and they were leaders in the academic sense. Also, you need to know that the fuqaha, they were not entirely full-time academicians like we are today. No, they were ordinary men doing ordinary things, doing their jobs. Some of them were traders, all right? They were selling in the market, they were doing business, but alongside their, ways of earning a living, because they were not employed. Nobody employed them. And many of them, you remember, were very, very hesitant to get into the employ of leadership of the Abbasids or the Umayyads and so on and so forth. They were always hesitant because they were not having a salary. But in addition to what they were doing to earn a living, their independence, economic independence, actually very much contributed to their strengths and in taking positions of arguments on cases that were controversial. They didn't want to be compromised. They didn't want to be patronized. All right. And I mean, every one of them had a full system, all right, of fiqh. I don't think they specialized in other departments. No, they had a full system of fiqh, all right, where they could talk about mirath, they could talk about, tawhid, they would talk about, buyo or bay'a, and so on and so forth. Complete. Even in Lugha, they were experts, in language. So each one of them had the qualifications for him to be a faqih or a standalone, scholar. I think that addresses.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Professor, thank you very much. Madam Halima is on, and she wants to raise a question. And I would like to also remind our viewers and listeners that we are live on YouTube and we are live on IUIU FM. Madam Halima, the AR Academic Registrar, she has raised her hand for long. Please, can you come in?
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe it's not exactly a question. Once again, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I really want to thank my brother, Professor, for that interesting presentation. And he has really provoked our minds. I want to link, there are two issues that I really want to talk about and link in, maybe, on the role of the Muslim intellectuals and then bridging the history and the present. And I think that goes back also, when I look at some of the cases of some of these leaders, Muslim leaders, maybe not really, we can't say intellectuals, but if you look in the past, I think there was also an issue of faith and iman, and that's very, very important. You raised the issue that many of us sometimes think that when we mentor the young ones, they will come and take over and we shall be pushed out of the picture. And you also pointed out that anything can happen to us anytime. But I want to bring in the other angle, that we should see this also as a sadaqatul jariyah, this mentorship. Because if you look at it from that angle, then you will see the big picture. You understand that your risk, your status, and your position is given to you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, no one can take it away from you except him. So if you have that in mind, you will not have this, what we are calling insecurity. Because you know that sooner or later, apart from dying anytime, but what is yours will fully come to you. No one can take it away. And then the other angle that we can look at it as Muslim intellectuals is that you can do that as, you can make niyyah that this is sadaqatul jariyah for you, this mentorship. Because if that person moves on, if that person becomes very good out of your effort, then the rewards are more than the money that you shall be getting, inshallah. It is much bigger, more effective, and more satisfactory. So I think whilst we pursue that and we talk to our ourselves and to our Muslim intellectuals on such issues, I think we can try to bring out also that big picture, and maybe that insecurity will go away. And this is what our predecessors did. This is the history we have. That
Madam Halima, I'm afraid you're running out of time. Can you please summarize in a minute?
Now, the last one, just in 1 minute, are we admired? I think that is a very, very critical question for the, I think that's very critical question for us. Are we admired? And therefore, my point on this one is the need for excellence among the Muslim intellectuals. We must have ihsan, we must excel in order for our mentorships to be effective. Thank you very much. I submit.
Thank you, Madam Halima. I think it was an observation.
Thank you very much, my sister Halima.
And
those are very, very pertinent issues she has raised. And I've always been telling my students, all right, and even some of the colleagues that we share information with, I was telling them, I used to tell them when I was still in class, that we people who teach Islamic studies, we are blessed. We are blessed because when I'm commenting about the Sadaqat Jariyah and the Iman and so on, when we go to class, right, we are literally doing dawah. Right? So we get rewards, double rewards, the dunya wal akhirah. No class of Islamic studies can be finished without talking about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, praying for him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without, it's an amazing journey. And indeed, we know what we are doing is Sadaqat al-Jariyah. You teach one ayah, one verse, or one hadith to a student, and he goes and duplicates it, and you have got a class of 100 students. They go and teach the hadith you have taught. How much reward is there? Allah Akbar wa lillahi alhamdu. Thank you very much, my sister Halim.
Professor, yes. Thank you very much. We are running out of time. Our listeners on IUIU want to pose a question through Brother Tusa. So, Brother Tusa, can you come in, please, and pose the question? Tusa, please, can you come in? I think he's... Tusa, please, can you pose a question from our listeners?
There is a chat. Can you open the chat?
Yeah, he wanted to come up with a question that is posed by our listeners on IUIU FM.
I can see. Is it Professor's argument that being an academic and intellectual are mutually exclusive? If yes, what is the view on the definition of an intellectual we find in Cambridge English Dictionary, which is the effect that an intellectual is a very educated person whose interests are studying and activities that involve careful thinking and mental efforts. They're not mutually exclusive, but they're not the same. The two terms are not mutually exclusive, but they definitely don't mean the same. All right? If you want to be, I can say, an intellectual is steps higher in a hierarchy than an academician. If that can help you to appreciate some of the differences between the two, okay? Then the other one is I'm in the studio. Tusa is not. There's no question. There's no question. All right. So thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies. But there's this UMSC president.
Professor,
UMSC
just a minute.
Yes, hand is up also.
Yeah, time is up. Let's call upon Brother Adam to have a point to say. Adam Musa, you're around, please. Brother Adam.
What's Nile?
Okay, thank you. Jamal Abnas is my name, Regional Secretary for Social Services, West Nile Region. I've been with the Uganda Spring Council for almost 12 years. It is my pleasure also to be in this forum too. I have a concern when we look at the mentor and mentees, like some time back we have leaders, the imams who are being only in Arabic, who learn only the local Arabic. But nowadays we have these young ones who come, it is they study the secular and above, they could lead the mosques to the better, they could do accountability, they could do what we want. But we found that the structure, right away from mosque level up to the district, up to the regional, up to the national, it had been affected because the background from the mosques where these imams, they are not educated, they cannot provide the report that the district wants, the count wants. They cannot provide the report. So at times when we try to push in people who are educated, who could lead and lead the Muslims in a right way, you find that there is a resistance. So as intellectuals, how do we try to address these issues right from the grassroots? Let's take at the Ugandan context where you find because most of our leaders, imams, they did not go to school because there is that perception that if you go to school, you'll be converted to Christianity, and all of them they do not have that man to go for those Catholic schools to have that kind of education, and only the preaching which they have is only about it, where they have only one preaching, which is in fact they are focused on spiritual issues. So I wanted to ask you how we can improve these lower structures. Thank you.
If I got you right, brother from West Nile, I don't see your name here. I wanted to respond to the brother who was just asked from West Nile about the disparity or the...
Doctor, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yeah, Doctor, we had, this is Amiri controlling this studio lines at IFM Radio. We had the brother Abakari Seduge asking that he was concerned about the disunity in Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, that most of the intellectuals are the people bringing confusion in the leadership, not looking at the mentoring of younger generation and other people to be allowed to come in to come in the office. Which method do you have or plan do you have to see that the intellectuals are convinced to ensure they are down to earth and be in position to manage the succession plan as far as leadership career is concerned?
Well, I don't know whether the brother has good statistics to support his argument when he says most of the confusion we must see approached by intellectuals who are not, who are not down to earth. I don't think that is correct. It's not an accurate position, at least until results of the study have been produced. But to give you a layman's opinion, I would want to think that the intellectuals or the academicians, I don't want to use the intellectuals. I'm not comfortable using intellectuals because we don't have them here as we speak now. The academicians probably can, the learned people can, the schooled people. But by the way, the shuyukh at both places are also schooled. They're indeed schooled. All right. I don't want to agree that the young people like the brother in Arua was it in Yumbe was saying that these people, they are not learned, the imams are not learned. The imams are learned. They know what they're doing. All right. They're coming in, but the point is we need to work together. All right. We need to recognize that actually our training has brought us this far. All right. Previously, the training was like somebody was entirely trained in the Islamic, tradition completely, and has nothing to do with the formal or the secular education. Or some people are fully trained in the sexual education and they're not trained, they have no knowledge in there. Now, we need to bridge that gap. Once that gap is bridged, or the way to bridge it is to re-engineer our mentality, our understanding that we are working as complementing each other. We are complementary components, all right, of the same system. All right. Those people who are learned in the Arabic or in the Islamic tradition, very well grounded, they shouldn't be scared of those who are coming in and have got one-sided education. They're so-called secularists or secular educated Muslims. Secular educated Muslims are not secularists, by the way. They're only trained in the secular education. So we need to be understanding that we can work together, we complement one another, and that way we should be able to achieve a lot for the Muslim community. The brother from Yumbe, I think the one who spoke earlier, was like he was giving an example of the young imams who are coming in. They are young and educated, and they are the old ones. I think there's a big problem there, up there, where the young people are like not respecting the elderly. That's very, very, very despicable. It's very undesired, because as young people, they're obliged to respect the elderly, whether ignorant or not. That's the first principle. Right? The first principle should be that the young must respect the elderly. Or even before we go into what do you know and what don't I know, all right? That must be there. And it's the obligation of the young to respect the elderly, not the other way around. Now, when a young imam is posted in a mosque, in a locality, and there's an existing old imam who may not be well schooled in Arabic language or in the tafsir and so on and so forth, whose knowledge of the science of Islam is lower than that of the young man should first and foremost show respect. Mm-hmm. Then you should also, out of that respect, you should recognize that the old man he wants to replace or is coming to work with has got more experience. Guys, people work as imams for more than 40, 50, half their lives. They never transferred. They never paid a salary. And they have accumulated a lot of experience. So sit yourself down before this senior imam who's about to retire, whether he's schooled or not, get to know from him how the community works. Because an imam is not just to stand in front, facing the Qibla and reciting Surah Al-Fatiha and any other surah from the Holy Quran. That doesn't make an imam. Honestly, an imam is the leader of the community.
Professor?
He's a local leader of the community.
Professor, sir?
So, I don't know why he's interrupting.
Yeah, Professor, sir, this is Adam Musa. We are just informing you as a technical team. The time is finished and the next presenter is online. So we are requesting you kindly to wind up.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. It has been a good, stimulating debate. I am appreciative of the conveners who gave me a chance and opportunity to talk to you. It has been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope we shall keep in touch. And let me give room to the next presenter, who is right here by my side. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Eid Mubarak wa Ramadan Kareem.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We really thank the professor for the wonderful time. We also appreciative to all the members who are online. We thank you so much. As you see at the command center, we have our next presenter, who is Dr. Amal Chinene Nsereko, and also she is the quality assurance director of the Islamic University in Uganda. Alhamdulillah, I think she's with Madam Salma, the moderator. Dr. Amal, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Are you with the moderator there?
Yeah, I have
Madam
the moderator
Salma
here with me.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah, please. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Members, we have the next, let me hand over to Madam Salma to moderate our next presenter. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum, members. I wish to take this opportunity to introduce the next presenter, and that's Dr. Amal Chinene Nsereko. Dr. Hajat Amal Chinene Nsereko is a lady with a competitive mind, adaptive, imaginative, creative, result-oriented, and a team builder as well. aspects that have been cherished by most lucrative and competitive organizations as a means to achieve a competitive edge in this turbulent, fragile, and chaotic business environment. She has a doctorate of business administration, majoring in finance from the USA. She has a master of business administration, majoring in finance and accounting of Makerere University, and a Bachelor of Arts in Education of Islamic University in Uganda. Since September 2009 to date, she has headed the Quality Assurance Directorate from various universities. She is a trained Quality Assurance Officer with the Inter-University Council of East Africa in collaboration with DAAD Germany. She is a senior lecturer in the Faculty of Management Studies at IUIU and has taught at the master's level and supervised research over 50 students to completion. She has participated in various international, national, and institutional level education-related consultancies, workshops, and conferences. She has participated as both an internal examiner and external examiner at IUIU and Deje University. She has served as an international reviewer of these journals, namely International Journal of Business and Administrative Studies of Malaysia, KKG Publications, then the East African Quality Assurance Network Journal, and the Education Research Journal, Any information about Dr. Amal can be got from her personal website, that is www.drhajatamal.com. That is Hajat's profile. I wish to welcome Hajat to make our next presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm getting feedback. Thank you so much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm going to take you through the role of academic institutions in building human resource capacity. I need to move, but I'm not in control of my slides. Pardon?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear moderator,
Chirot have this. So that we pardon a minute, please. Have you seen it? Okay. So you're going to control me? I can control from here. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. But the screen is not, they're not sharing. I'm going to take you through the role of academic institutions in building human resource capacity. My paper presentation will define the academic institution, the human resource capacity, I'll clarify the goal of human and institutional capacity development, introducing a model, I'm sharing a model that will help us improve on human resource capacity, collaborative research support program model for human and institutional capacity building. I'll also give you a brief review of the achievements in the long-term training and also consider the challenges and innovations in the collaboration research support program. When we look at academic, the number of definitions, a faculty, an academic, a faculty member or scholar at an institution of higher learning, such as a university. An academic is defined as a person who is involved in learning, especially at the college level, or who is very educated. We also look at one who has an academic viewpoint or a scholarly background. Those are the few definitions I'll give for now. Then when we look at the academic institution itself, it's an entity as a university or a college that runs independently from other like entities and has its own set of rules and business processes. An education institution is dedicated to higher education and research, which grants academic degrees. So we are looking, in this perspective, we are looking at higher education institutions that look into research. Through research, how can we build our human resource capacity? And how do we grant academic degrees? Through building our resource. Human resource capacity is a measure to ensure that an organization has a sufficient number of qualified people in the right place at the right time to achieve its objectives. Lack of capacity has a direct impact on an organization's ability to deliver programs and services and perform certain tasks. What is human and institutional capacity building? It involves human and institutional capacity building involves developing two primary components in an organization. One, you realize that most institutions always dwell on training and development and leave out the other aspect of number two, organizational development. In order to an academic, as a role of an academic institution, how can it build its human resource capacity? You have to look at the two aspects, training and development, at the same time, organizational development. When we look at training and development, developing human expertise, we look at the intellectual and the human capital for the purpose of improving performance at the individual level. We also look at the organizational development, unleashing human expertise for the purpose of improving performance at the group, process, and system level. For instance, increasing organizational effectiveness, leadership, and strategy. When you look at this, both components, training and development and organizational development, are necessary to achieve the goal of human resources and institutional capacity building. I'm introducing something. What helps us introduce the two? Training, development, and institutional capacity, organizational development. We are looking at the collaborative research support program, the CRSP model. What is this CRSP model? It has the potential to achieve both these components. In this model, there are three sets of players. We look at the investor. For instance, when I look at my institution, IU, who is the investor? Islamic Development Bank, OIC, USAID, African Development Bank, ETC. When we look at number two, so that the model is complete. Management entity, who are the management entities? These are the universities. And number 3, the partners. Whom do we partner with? We partner with fellow universities, we partner with different countries, host country institutions, we partner with international organizations. So if we put the 3 together, in the investor, the managed entity, and the partner, we can develop training, at the same time organizational development. So that is just a model illustrating the investor, management entity, and the partner. I want to look through the essential elements of the model design. The essential elements, we have the goal. What is our goal? Research for development. As you emphasize human resource capacity building, you are looking at research for development. Then we have the projects. 2, we have the projects. These are units of research planning and implementation built on the principles of collaboration. Then 3, we have collaboration between the university and the host country institutions, or collaborative research projects are building blocks and are defining a feature of the collaborative research support program model. How do the model build human and institutional capacity? The models mobilize capacities of universities for improved human capacity and institutional research development of partner host country institutions through, for instance, 1, as we are looking at an academic institution, what is your aim in building human resource capacity? We look at the long-term degree training, opportunities for the host country institutions, scientific research staff. Then 2, we have those of the short-term training and experiential learning opportunities for technical and field staff. 3, we look at the skills upgrading opportunities for the collaborating researchers. Then 4, we have the hands-on mentoring in project, contract, financial management of administrative staff. 5, we look at the facility infrastructure upgrading opportunities. Much as you realize that as we move on, I will share with you the challenges as we move on. We delve into training. We send our staff abroad, but when they come back, that's why we look at this organizational development. What do they find on the ground? If someone goes 5 years, 4 years, 2 years, 3 years out of the country for training, do they find the faculty in the same place? Nothing has changed. So we need to look at number 5, facility infrastructure upgrading opportunities for the incoming new staff outside. Research equipment, vehicles, communication tools, name it. Then 6, the networking opportunities for the host country researchers. How do we network? Do we network with these institutions, a home country, and the institutions where our staff have gone for capacity building? The CRSP approach, capacity building is not a standalone activity, but integrated with research. The CRSP empower the host country institutions to address recognized needs and constraints through the creation of new technologies, knowledge, while concurrently developing human and infrastructure resource capacity and competences in strategic areas, thus leading to institutional self-reliance and sustainability. When we look at self-reliance and sustainability, if I delve into the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, as we look into human training capacity, are we looking at self-reliance and sustainability? What happens? We keep on training staff, we bond them, after a few years they leave the institution. Is there any reliance there, self-reliance? Do we have sustainability of this human resource? This is key. A comparative advantage in human resource institutional capacity. We look at this, the model allows an opportunity for a comprehensive approach to institutional capacity building, encompassing both components, training and organizational development. It looks at collaboration with diverse partners, for example, the agribusiness, government, institutions, research associations, NGOs, foundations, etc. It also looks at the long-term institutional collaborative relationship, which is very pertinent. You don't collaborate in the short run, but we need to look at the sustainability of these collaborations, the networks that we have there. We look at the silent features and best practices around some of the countries or some of the institutions that have adopted this model. The CRSPs invest around 20 to 25% of their funds in training young professionals from developing countries to build the capacity of host country, like national agriculture research systems. They normally dwell on agriculture because they believe that they will train a staff and he should come back to his home country to ensure that, to the ground, to ensure that he practices what he was trained, which is really unlikely in the other professions, agriculture universities and the private sector. We look at the degree training, an integral part of research work plans, not an afterthought. Trainees selected by the host country collaborators based on their academic potential. The institution's desire to strengthen its capacity in strategic areas of research and the professional interests of goals of the candidates. More to that, trainees placed for graduate degrees at both, for instance, the US universities and advanced institutions in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, South-South approach. They look at the South-South approach. Postgraduate mentorship is very key. Networking, financial support as one element. As you are training your staff, they need what they call mentorship as their own training. They need the networking capacity. They also need the financial support. As one element of an institution capacity building program, it seeks to support recent graduates upon return to their home institutions so that they are able to establish a viable research program. So you realize that this is a challenge amongst our institutions. You send staff for capacity building. They need so much mentorship. They need networking. They need the financial support. On their way back, as they come back home, is it the end of the capacity building? This has to continue along the way. Higher return rate at home, institutions, and continued involvement in the field of study. You look at the return rate, you send members or you send staff to train abroad. How many return? Some decide to stay abroad, some decide to return. And even those who decide to return, decide to depart after a few years or so. Advantages of the model in a long-term degree training. You realize that it's access to the academic programs of world-class, say the US, and advanced regional universities under the tutelage of the major professor, where we have a PI, principal investigator. The trainee has an opportunity to be directly involved in an internationally recognized cutting-edge research program, integration of academic research and outreach in degree training programs, synergies, land grant mission, for instance. More so, advantages, we look at the focus on finding solutions to private and public sector problems in the host country. For instance, we look the thesis research focus on a problem or constraint of importance of the agriculture sector in the home country. We look at the economies in the cost to say, USAID is passionate about this model for the graduate degree training due to cost share and leveraging of resources, long-term collaborative relationships beyond degree training is very ideal. We look at the achievements in the long-term training, degree training, total across, it's a rough estimate, data. So far, you realize that in a period of 1978 to 2010, total degrees that have been trained through this model, 3,550. It's such a small number, but this is what it is. Total postgraduate degrees awarded, 3,086. Total number of degrees supported, 3,900. Total ongoing support for degree training, current 350. The source data gathered from the SRP Management Office and the Digest project. Factors that can be used. Relevance and learning impact is one. How do we look at the relevance? 83% of the reported research, collaborative research support program thesis research has highly relevant to their current work and job responsibilities. 2, ability to design, conduct, analyze scientific research was the most important knowledge, skills, and attitude acquired. Then 2, the rate of return is very pertinent. 86% of the host country trainees return to a developing country after graduation, whereas 79% trainees return immediately to home institutions. After post-training collaboration, 40% continued collaboration with one of the US professors. For examples of successes in capacity building through these models, we have Angola, a country Angola, where they had building capacity in bean breeding research, where none existed through degree training of 2 research staff. Kenya, one of the East African countries, Thailand, Mexico, where the trainees assuming leadership position in fish farming. We also have fish farming in Uganda, which I think it's an area we can go to, where they had categories of deans, managers, high-level advisory roles, successful entrepreneurs. South Africa, these ones partnered with the partnership sector in training farmers and produce organizations in horticulture, marketing. In Uganda, we also have horticulture, and some of our institutions train in horticulture. Peanut industry incubator model. In the Eastern, they grow peanuts, incubator model. Links host country institutions with local industry, serves as a platform for training workshops and resources to solve local industry problems and launch new products. Challenges in this model: keeping the focus on institutional capacity building. For instance, the needs assessment of the host country institution, trainee selection, organizational development, simply training students from developing countries, which is equal or not equal to the institutional capacity building. They are looking at simply training students for developing countries, and this does not equal the institutional capacity building. They want to give scholarships, but they don't want to give grants for institutional capacity. Then being relevant so as to contribute to the enhancement of sustainable capacity of developing country institutions and addressing strategic objectives of USAID mission, matching the opportunity with the need. Do we match the opportunities with the need? This is very urgent. Providing innovative educational experience in long-term degree training, like internship, exposure to private and sector linkages. A trade-off between the changing nature of the research project's short-term competitive grants versus the long-term needs of institutional capacity building. We also looked at the challenges, preparation of a new generation of global leaders for private and public sector professionals, and meeting the challenges of agriculture development in a rapidly changing environment. For instance, if you take an example of our own country, we are changing with the COVID-19 pandemic. What is happening? Where can we move? Where can the new normal take us? Changing food demand, structures, increasing resources, constraints, enhancing food and nutrition security, climate change, gender issues. Keeping educational programs, 6, keeping educational programs of universities competitive on both academic and cost basis. 7, consideration of the academic needs of both domestic and international graduate students. For instance, global knowledge, attitudes, and skill sets, knowledge of emerging issues, etc. in degree program development. 8, English language proficiency. It limits accessibility of non-English speaking host countries or increase the costs. Stringency in the visa process. This is also a challenge amongst our human resource that are trying to build their capacity abroad. This is also one of the issues. Then 10, reforming graduate programs in agriculture, science, and being flexible on program requirements without compromising academic quality and scholarship. One, you look at the admission requirements, residence requirements, for instance, trainees away from home country, takes too long, course requirements, type of scholarly activity, and thesis defense requirements. These are some of the challenges that may come up with our model. How can higher institutions of learning be innovative in graduate training? One, we look at the new models of graduate degree programs, joint or dual institutional degree programs, sandwich programs. I believe that our institutions are doing this. Distance education programs, designer graduate programs for target population. We design programs, but are we targeting the population? Two, value addition to the host country graduate program. One, we look at the research opportunity for the host country, students in the university laboratories, internship, for instance, in the agribusinesses or other areas of study, participation in university outreach programs, university faculty instruction of courses at the host country universities. Despite the challenges in the collaborative research support program model, higher education institutions should adapt the model since the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. There is an urgent need to be more creative and innovative to embrace all-inclusive human resource and institutional capacity building. I end by giving a Quranic interpretation. The Holy Quran has emphasized on the importance of human resource management and have devised some principles in this field. In several surahs, Allah has mentioned the story of the people who worked for the prophets and the way they treated the workers. For example, in Surah Al-Qasas and Surah Al-Taha, etc. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ramadan Kareem. I'll open the floor for any reactions. Thank you so much. Moderate.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amal, for the wonderful presentation. Right now, we wish to invite any questions, any supplements to the presentation. Doctor is very ready to answer any questions that may be put forward. Thank you very much. Any questions, members?
Farida Chambade. I see a hand there. Farida has a hand. Chambade.
Farida, please ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Amal, for your submission. In most of your submission, if I heard you right, you concentrated more on training, but what can our institutions do to help us on the activity of retention? Because when I take IUIU as a case study, I think it has done a few of what you have suggested up there, but then there's still a gap as far as retention is concerned. I feel like some of our good people that have been taken for training have been taken away from us. In fact, I look at it as if IUIU is a nursery bed for other organizations. I'm not saying that everyone we train has to stay, but what can the institution do to help as far as that activity is concerned? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Farida.
Can I answer? I see Ismail Kamis coming in.
Is that Ismail Hamis?
I don't know.
Please ask
Okay.
your question.
No, I don't know. He wants to come in. Okay, let me answer Farida as others are coming in. As I mentioned in the long-term training, you realize that why and retention is still a challenge. There's what we call mentorship. Mentorship of the graduates and financial support. Mentorship is key, networking is key, and financial support is key. You realize, why are they going away? Financial support. I think we need to emphasize more on the financial support and more on the mentorship, so that when you are mentored, you feel your host institution is home. If you are totally financed on your degree, this is key. If it is a loan, then it is otherwise. You look at the institution in a different perspective. I would advise that to improve on our human resource capacity, we improve on the mentorship program, we also improve on the financial support program. And this can only be done, that's why I introduced the model. Because we all know that our institutions of learning lack financial support. As they lack the support, you realize that they lack this support, then we need partners on board. We need investors on board. You need investors who will offer the financial support. You need partners who will offer the mentorship and the institutions to manage the human resource. So you can't do away with the three. If you do with only the two, or partner and the investor and the management, then you will have no support. I submit.
Thank you very much, Doctor. We have another person with a submission. Mr. Ismail Hamis, are you there?
No, he didn't put up his hand.
Okay.
I don't
Hello, members.
I don't see another hand.
Is there any other hands? Any comments? Any question? Members, please, we call upon your submission.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt a little bit?
Please come in.
Thank you very much. My name is Professor Imtiaz Ahmed. I'm a director of postgraduate studies here in Lukanya. I've seen that one. It's a very nice presentation about, but the data, only the concern which I have seen it that the data we provided, it was very, the old data. The data should be the current one generally. Otherwise, it was very nice and very informative. Thank you and submit.
Data was so what? I didn't get it well.
It was a very old data. I mean, you tried to provide the data from 1970 to 1988. It should be the current one. And the second one that which my advice that now you're supposed to provide, try to focus on the national way. I mean, in Uganda, particularly where you're talking about, because this conference is very much concerned to the nation, the Uganda nation, in spite of providing a detailed look on the international program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Dr. Chinji, I see your hand. Please offer your submission. Dr. Chinji.
Dr. Chinji, please come up.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dr. Amal, thank you for your wonderful presentation. My concern is about the training in case of the staff development program of the Islamic University in Uganda. So the challenge we have here is that you have pointed out that there are two things, the training, then the retention, and so on. But the issue here, some people see it differently, that it is like they give me a loan. They give me money to go and study, salary advance, and I pay that money. Then, apart from signing the undertaking, morally, some of the staff see that, no, it is their money. I have paid it back. Then there is no obligation for me to continue serving. Then my suggestion here
it goes back to the background.
Is that the IUI should not stop. Should in our case, even if we increase the salaries, people will continue leaving the institution to other areas. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. I thought you would land, Dr. Chinji. You were coming up that even if we increase the salary, people will still go. Okay, in management, we have what we call the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the more you earn, the more you want more. So the issue of seeing it as a loan, that's what I explained in the first reaction. If we develop a mentorship program to network with our staff trainees and also improve on the financial support program, I think this will improve in the long run, will improve the issue of retention and improve that issue of turnover, staff turnover after training them. I submit.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor, for your question, and I hope your suggestion has been answered. I call upon another member. Do we have any other member who can make any submission? Members? Any other hand up?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank Madam for the wonderful presentation, but my we try to relate the presentation like us as a religious institution, we don't have people who are much paid in salaries. So linking your presentation also to our local organizing institutions, they had been also quite difficult here. Thank you.
Please come again. I need to get you clear. This is UMC West Nile.
Yes, what I was saying is most of our employees, they are local paid, they are not most of them, they are not in salary scale. So relating in them capacity building, maybe their capacity building relating to your presentation, it had been quite challenging. Maybe sending them somewhere, because our resource envelope is from the community. It is the community to contribute to support our offices, and we don't put most of our staff in salary. So linking your topic to our institutions, it had been quite challenging for me.
Okay.
As a Uganda Spring Council, yeah.
So you are trying to share with us that in your community, staff are not getting the salary. It's the community that collects and pays the staff. I need to get your response very well. So you can't, capacity building is a challenge.
What I'm saying, what I was trying to say, as a Ugandan Spring Council, we are all aware, Ugandans and Sri Lankas, the only staff which had been in salary at a national level. Most of them, the district is to the community to contribute. In the case of their tour, in the case of the any activity, it is the local contributions. So sending a staff for maybe capacity building for any education activity, it is not really there. So linking your topic in our local context, it has been quite challenging for me.
Okay, I get you now. It's a challenge to link the topic to the reality on the ground. It's quite challenging.
Exactly.
Because it's quite challenging. It's our humble prayer that we need to get organized, because we are looking at institutions, already existing institutions. How would they manage or improve in human capacity building? I believe now that is still a challenge. The institution has to be in place, management has to be in place, policies have to be in place. We must have policies like staff development policies in place. What does it take a staff to come in place, a staff to go for further studies? Each policy, there must be a strategic plan in place. So the institution has to be properly guided so that we can move a step further, to even partner with other institutions to give maybe scholarships. I submit, Chair, but I have 3 hands. I had Nachten Delaida. I have, you see them?
Mr. Maxine Ozik was the first. Mr.
Okay.
Maxine, please make your submission. Mr. Maxine, the bowler. Are you there?
Okay, let Nachten come in.
Nashtende Leila. Nashtende Leila, please come in.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Walaikum assalam warahmatullahi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Walaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
This is Nashtende Leila.
Yes, please.
This is Nashtende Leila, a student of Law campus. First of all, I thank Dr. Chimene for the wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. Now, my concern is some institutions have tried to carry out. Are you getting me?
Come in again, please.
This is
Yes, we're hearing you.
Student of law at IU Kampala campus.
Yes, please.
My concern is some institutions have tried to carry out training of their employees through both internal and external training. But we find out that most of the people trained do not take things that they are trained in, but instead leave them on the training grounds. Now, what next can the institution do if the training has failed?
Oh my God. Seriously, okay.
Thank you, Madam Leila.
Can I come in?
Please come in, Doctor.
Okay.
Please come in and answer her question.
Thank you, Nachten Delaila. And I'm happy to know that I have a student on board. So you are saying that some institutions train internally and externally, but at the end of the day, the staff leave it at that. What should the institutions do? This is a challenge. And members, this is happening around institutions. What should the institutions do? There's what we call retraining and retooling of staff. What should they do? For instance, I'll share with you that you can even have a list after even partnering with these institutions, or various like IUA can partner with institutions, say in Sudan, maybe Malaysia, maybe Nigeria, Islamic Development Bank, and call upon staff to apply for the scholarships, and you still fail to get staff to apply. You get 1 or 2. What should the institution do? Continue training and retraining. until it is louder. Maybe it is the way we train. Maybe also through a strategic plan, through strategically involve the staff in the training, in developing their needs assessment. Maybe we train and we didn't do a needs assessment and we don't know what the staff actually want on the ground. So we keep on training and that is not what they want. I believe we need to improve on our training capacity. We need to improve on our tactics. We need to involve them, let them tell us what they want, and we find a policy and plan and budget for that, inshallah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
I have another hand.
I can see 3 other hands. The DLCOC Secretary, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dr. Amal, we thank you for the wonderful presentation. And
yes,
it's
please.
highly academic. And you've been really very short and very, very fast. Anyway, alhamdulillah.
Fine.
Yes, you've been so fast. So we're asking you if you could take us slowly because we still have time with you and we are supposed to go until 1. So my question is, would you kindly take us through what capacity, the different formats of how to bring out capacity? Because what I understand by capacity building is identifying the local problems. And after identifying the local problems, then you start looking for solution towards the said problems. So I would ask you if you could take us through different ways of identifying our problems and how to overcome them, I think. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adam Musa. Doctor, please.
Can I take another one? Maybe Mangal.
Okay, let us first take another person. Mr. Mangali. Mr. Mangali, please. Are you there, Mr. Mangali? All right, let's have Maxine. Maxine, are you there? Maxine, you're putting up your hand.
Maybe he forgot, maybe he left.
Okay, let's have Hikma. Hikma? Madam Hikma? You've hidden the hand. Okay, Mr. Maxine, are you there by default? Okay, doctor, maybe we can answer the question.
Human capacity,
Yeah,
wow.
human capacity.
Okay, thank you so much. We are looking at which types of capacity. How would we identify the capacity? For instance, you want to train. What do you want to train? You want to build capacity in different aspects in an institution of learning. What aspects are you looking at? Are you looking at the human aspect? Here we dealt more on the human aspect, the human capacity, human resource. You are building capacity, human resource through, as an academic, we are looking at capacity in terms of training for further studies, for upgrading, moving from a bachelor's to a master's, from a master's to a doctoral program or postdoctoral program. So our topic was really on human capacity, but in an institution, you may also train in financial capacity. Financial capacity, how would you train your finance members to improve on their financial capability? That is also one form of capacity building. And I think what makes us not retain in institutions is financial. And one of our contributors said that the more they earn, then I brought in, the more they earn, they'll still go. When it comes to capacity, there is what we call job satisfaction. Job satisfaction. As an academic, in academics, there is, in terms of financial capacity, we don't have a lot of finance in academics. But is there any job satisfaction in academics? Why are you an academic in any way? Sharing knowledge, skills, attitude. You are delivering knowledge and you are satisfied about bringing new knowledge, imparting knowledge into the students, and you see them graduate. That is satisfaction, capacity. Then the issue of financial also has to come in. But when it comes to financial, we've had institutions like government institutions where, when I compare a comparative study of a private institution and a government institutions pay fully paid scholarships to these staff, but these staff either decide to retain in their home countries, in wherever they have gone, or they decide to come back home. And even when they come home, they still move on. So is the challenge fully paid scholarship? This takes me back to still the needs assessment. Before we carry out a proper human resource capacity building, we need to have maybe a training workshop, carry out a needs assessment. What do the academics want? Do they want to build their human resource? Do they want finance? What do they want? And in which areas do they want to build themselves? At the end of the day, you must add value to your person. Whatever you do as a capacity building, you must add value to your person. It has to be value addition. As I gave it out in the innovations, creating sandwich programs that are favorable. If it is the issue of finance, we can create sandwich programs so that you are home, you are home at the same time you're in class. You are in Uganda having a degree with IU at the same time with the degree at Malaysia. So it's a sandwich program, joint academic programs. At the same time, we must add value to our degrees. I take it as that.
Okay, thank you very much for that wonderful response. May we have another member to give a question or to comment?
I don't know whether it's only
Farida?
Someone is talking, he doesn't know what?
I didn't hear what she said. Madam Farida, I can see your hand up.
Yes, Salva, thank you. Now, if training and upgrading has not helped the individual or lecturer perform to standard, how can institutions use performance appraisals? And then, Doctor, I would like to know, in your capacity as QA, what has been your role in supporting our institution or other institutions that you have worked for to build their human resource capacity? So those are two questions. Thank you. So the first one has to do with performance appraisals, especially for the individuals who are not performing up to standard.
And the second?
The second is the doctor's role as QA in supporting HR capacity building. Her role as QA.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Madam Farida. May I take another hand?
Yes, please.
Mr. Mangali, Sheikh Mangali, I can see your hand. Sheikh Mangali, I can see your hand. Please make your submission. Sheikh Mangali, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, Doctor, thank you. Mine is a short one. Are you getting me?
Yes, please, I am.
Yeah. our topic, the role of academic institutions in building human resource capacity.
Do we want to promote? Because I was thinking, is it hashtag keep Mbali clean? Or
Yes.
hashtag
Yes. So in your submission, somehow you have concentrated much on how we can develop the capacities in academic institutions. And I was wondering whether you have a plan to collaborate with the other institutions, identify their capacity gaps, like for instance, the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, and then take part in building their capacity. So the issue is, do you have plans for making, building these capacities outside academic institutions, or you are limited to IU and other institutions? Then number two, you talked about the Quran, giving examples of some people who are trained and who worked. You mentioned the Surah Al-Qasas, but I didn't get the quotation. I could beg you get the quotations so that you can learn more about the same. Thank you.
Sheikh.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Magali.
Yes.
Doctor?
Oh, wow.
Please respond to the questions.
Okay, thank you so much for these questions that are coming in. It's showing me that my participants are active online. I'm not talking to a virtual area. Farida has asked me the training capacity. If training capacity you have trained and staff have failed, really, there is a level of failure. When it comes to this, we look at the level of failure. We cannot say that you have trained and we have totally failed. We can train and get a percentage on board. That's why in training, we always have the evaluation forms, maybe on Google, maybe physical forms, so that they help us evaluate the kind of training we have gone through. Some people don't fail because they don't want. That's why it takes me back to our needs assessment. As we carry out these trainings, what do our people need? For instance, your capacity. It will take me back to capacity, the role. KPIs. We train you in key performance indicators. And these indicators, for instance, as QA, you asked me as a quality assurance practitioner, what do I expect from the human resource capacity? As quality assurance, just to brief, this was not a QA presentation. Quality assurance is doing the right thing right in the first place, at the right time. Are you doing it right in the first place, at the right time? Are you training? For instance, look at it in terms of human capacity training. Are we training the right people? Are we training the right category? We can look at training. In an academic institution, we have different categories. We have the teaching staff and the non-teaching staff, administrators and other support staff. Are you mixing teaching with non-teaching? Their needs are different. You can say I trained in human resource capacity, but whom were you training? You need to look at the people. Who are your target group? You cannot ask teachers to train and ask them that if you train in this, you will further your degree, you will further your studies, you will come back and do this. You cannot tell a support staff to go for a PhD if he's not coming to academics. But you can tell them to improve on the academics to a level that will promote them from one step to the other. I don't think people refuse to. People get on board, but because there is what we call the human being, the human soul is so forgetful. I have sheikhs on board. Maybe I'm taking you in a direction that you don't want to go. I need to know your direction. And this is where we as managers go wrong. You are taking it you're taking members of staff in a direction they really don't want to go in. We need to move on the same page and move on the same direction. As QA practitioner, my role as a QA practitioner is to guide all different departments and improve on their training capacities. That's why you realize that whatever we train in quality assurance is always part and parcel of it. train you in all aspects. With quality assurance, she asked me what's the role of QA. QA looks at, quality assurance looks at from admissions from the gate. Are the security at the gate doing their role as expected? Did we admit the rightful students? Are you teaching the right curriculum? Are we teaching the accredited curriculum? If I train you that you have to accredit your curriculum like this, and you choose not to, at the end of the day, our curriculum will never be accredited. As a quality assurance practitioner, I must ensure that whatever we do is in line with the rules and regulations and policies of National Council for Higher Education, Ministry of Education, and so on, Inter-University Council for East Africa. That is in Uganda, in the region. And the human resource, do we have educated human resource teaching staff? If a master's is supposed to teach, do all your staff have those qualifications at that level? If not, what should we do to ensure? That is my role. That is what I should enlighten and improve the institution. Then, do I have other plans outside academic? My topic was purely academic. The role of academic institutions in building human resource capacity. UMC, I need to look at the academic arm, the education side of it. I know they have the scholarship side of it, but it's not an academic awarding institution. It does not recruit lecturers. It does not recruit students, much as it's an organization. On the other hand, how would I bring it in? I would bring it in terms of the investor. I would bring UMC in terms of the investor when it comes to the model. IU is a partner with Uganda Muslim Student Council. Maybe it has scholarships on board. How do we match, have MOUs, and improve on the capacity of human resource in our institution? But moving from my institution to UMC is a challenge because my boundaries, I don't have the mandate to do it. And for this time round, the topic was purely on the role of academic institutions in building human resource capacity. If it opens up, inshallah, I will open up to other institutions as long as they have the academic arm in that institution. I submit.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that wonderful answer you have given to our members. I can see a hand from Mr. Muyazao Rashid. Rashid, please make your submission.
Yes, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, I thank Dr. Amal for her presentation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala award her abundantly. I have a small worry with the academic institutions because me, when I was looking at your topic, I looked at it in a general perspective, looking at Uganda as a whole. When you look at academic institutions in Uganda, they've trained human resource in all fields of life. And for instance, we've seen academic institutions training engineers, but still when you look at when it comes to constructions of roads, you will see the government outsourcing the Chinese companies, companies from Europe to come and construct roads. So you mean the academic institutions have totally, this is where my question is, you mean the academic institutions, there are some fields where they've totally failed to build the capacity and build human resource to certify this nation with their skills. So that is my point of concern. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Rashid. Doctor has heard your submission and she is going to give you an answer. Doctor?
Okay. I have another one. Okay, please come in. Who is that one?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Doctor, also, I want to applaud the IUIU in capacity building, especially in West Nile. Arua campus has been in touch with the Uganda Muslim Council structures in capacity building. I remember I think in 2019, the director had been able to call all the religious leaders, the districtaries, the chairman, the secretaries for leadership training for 2 days. They have trained the leaders in the management and many various sectors. Yeah, imams. So they have been together with us along that line. But now we have a scenario in our structure where now, when we want to go to the lower structures, some of these people, they come at a very far distance. What IUI do is only to give us the resource persons, but the financial sustainability of the training, it had been a bit, it had been on the Ugandan speakers. So at times we find some of these districts, they are very poor. They cannot afford to maintain and sustain training for 2 days, either 1 day. So I want just in a special way to also applaud IIU along that line. Thank you. I submit.
Okay, welcome.
That was just a point to note, I think.
Thank you for that submission. Okay, let's have Doctor to answer all your questions.
Thank you. Let me start on the previous one. Thank you for applauding IUIU. Bravo, IUIU, for the training through the DAWA departments, community departments. By training, members are acknowledging the training of the religious leaders that has taken place in West Nile. May Allah give us the good in it. And also still having a challenge in the structures. This is being not being an academic institution. I think now it goes to the local governments and the religious leaders on how we can manage this. I think how training on the local structures, and IUIU also doesn't have the capacity, full capacity to do this as well. It has to partner with partners out there, inshallah, but we take this for note and food for thought. Then it comes to Mr. Rashid, who had the worry in academic institutions, that when he saw the topic, he thought it was the whole of, I'm talking on behalf, by the way, when I'm talking about training as a quality assurance practitioner, as the presenter presented, I've had a number of interfaces with my fellow colleagues in various institutions of learning, the Ugandan University's Quality Assurance Forum, where I partner with all the QA managers in those universities. And I've also partnered with the East African Quality Assurance Network, partners with institutional QA members from the East African region. Universities, Dar es Salaam, Nairobi, the Rwanda, and so on, we have partnered. We have shared this. Human resource capacity is a challenge for all. That's why we have the essence of moonlighting, moving from one institution to the other. You have a medical school, but you cannot have 100% full-time doctors for only IUI. You find that you have to have capacity with Makerere. They have to teach with Makerere and teach at IUI, maybe master, and so on. Same thing with other areas, specialty. Mr. Rashid was saying, are you saying that we don't have the capacity? Yes. Not all institutions offer all programs that you offer. Engineering, you offer, like, for instance, do we offer engineering? You'll find, for instance, architecture. You want architecture, you'll go to Makerere, you'll go to Chambogo, maybe just a few, not even the private institutions do offer it. But you're talking about the roads. Why do we outsource? I think we still have the few engineers, much as we graduate them, they are not as many as we think they are through the years. From the few universities that are offering these programs, it is true that we are not offering all the programs. That's why we outsource staff from outside, abroad, outside Uganda, and outside other institutions of learning. So I don't see it that it's not that we don't know, much as in Uganda we say, buy Uganda, be Ugandan. buy Ugandan, build Uganda, okay? But sometimes you want to build, but you don't have what to build. You want to buy from whom to buy from, and you need the quality services. Much as what we call quality is not quality at the end of the day, much as the foreigners come in and we don't see the quality. This should not be a worry. I think it is, we are taking each step as it comes in. For instance, IUIU, we are getting each step. If we are starting a department of engineering, we train the staff. By the time we open the faculty, we already have staff on board that belong to the institution. Capacity building is ongoing in IUIU, and training is ongoing. We should not worry, much as it's a worry, but we are getting there. I believe we don't think we are different from the rest. I will share with you that we also trained with German institutions in Europe. And I was surprised. They were also talking about financial support in Europe. And you think they have it all, but they don't have it all. And I'm like, are you like Uganda? Yes. Much as you're in Europe, our level of support is higher than what you have, but we also need the support. So this is a worldwide argument, and training is going on all the time. That's why you find when you go to the hotels, how do you think hotels in Uganda are managing? Each day from Monday to Friday, workshops, training is ongoing. When you watch your TV sets from Monday, you see screens, training is ongoing from each different sector, economy in the country. Training is ongoing, and this is how they're making their income. I submit. I have Rashid Kins.
I can see another hand from Rashid Kins. Mr. Rashid, please make your submission.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Doctor, for the presentation. Rashid Kinsambo is my name.
Yes.
I just wanted to give some information.
Yes.
As IUIU, we have been involved in some community programs that involve capacity building of the different communities, especially in the north and in the east. And we have some programs which are designed deliberately to train the imams in leadership skills, in income generating projects, and so many other programs. And we actually, in Arua, there is another program that goes on to the community where we extended even some funding for the community, the women there, to doing some business and see that they build their capacity, financial capacity. So as a university, we are really involved in that. But of course, we don't also have enough resources to do it openly. So sometimes when it gets the funding, we do that. But where communities contact us, we are always available to give that training. You may remember that there was also that program for the local government where they are building capacity in public administration. And we had several cohorts of different local leaders coming to IUIU for capacity building. So we are also doing this for the community as well. I submit.
Thank you so much.
That was a submission.
Thank you so much, Assistant US, for that informative information. I think our colleague from West Nile, you've heard that IUIU is trying. The challenge is funding, but if we could get the more funding, I think we can do wonders.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I don't have another hand.
Do we have any other member to make a submission? Members?
Secretary General, do you have anything? We have a chat. What is on the chat?
It's in the chat. Oh, there's a new message. Mine is not reading. Is this reading? Let's see. The network is bad.
think we are done, members.
Members, I can see Dr. Abdurrahman Chiwewa.
Okay, Chiwewa, yes, come in.
Doctor, please make your submission.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I begin by thanking Dr. Amal for the very insightful presentation and also the subsequent discussants who have come in, to make contributions here and there to enrich the debate about training and capacity building. And also we thank IUIU for the enormous undertaking of, building human capacity and human potential for our community and for our nation. I just wanted to one other dimension of capacity which could be very critical for us, which you can ponder about. That for an institution like IUIU and the role it is playing, it's a bit unique. And the type of graduate that IUIU would like to produce may be slightly different from the type of graduates that other institutions are producing elsewhere because of its unique role in the community and in the country at large. And many top universities advancing the, focus on what they call the first 21st century competencies, which every learner should have, so that they can be impactful in their communities. And they talk about, empowering the learners with critical thinking capabilities. They talk about creativity, which is a starting point for innovation and problem solving. They talk about communication at different levels, and especially using technology to be impactful in their communities, wherever they are, in the institutions and communities. They talk about collaboration, cooperation, teamwork, working together and building synergies,
the soft skills
for more higher productivity. They talk about character, building the character of the learner and this graduate who you're going to take out there, which begins from the facilitate of the learning process. So character stroke global citizenship, emphasizing the character of the individual we're training, we're preparing, and as well as the global citizenship in terms of where he or she is going to serve as a global citizen, not as a local citizen, but somebody who's going to impact, globally. So the 5 C's are considered to be the cornerstone of core competencies that, capacity, building capacity, the trainer, the educator, the one who is facilitating the learning process, and the learners should continuously grow in these competencies for them to be as productive and impactful in the modern times. But when it comes to IUIU, character has ingredients that come from the teachings in the Quran and the Sunnah. So a character, that graduate that you want to see, some scholars have gone to say that must have 10 important competencies, 10. One should be having good aqidah, strong aqidah. 2, you should be intellectually, grounded with good intellectual thought. 3, should be, with good manners and able to really the manners, as taught from the Quran, the Sunnah, Then this person should be good, comprehensive in his worship. So he looks at teaching, he looks at the workplace where he's involved, whatever he's doing as a kind of worship. So it's different. So it is worship, it is ibadah, teaching, guidance, research, everything is ibadah. Then one should be beneficial to the community, one who is serving for the benefit of all, and so on. So just to emphasize that as we talk about capacity building, training, empowering our people, the lecturers, and of course the learners at the end of the day, it's important for these ingredients to be somehow enhanced, because the kind of graduate we need will be the type that can be able to impact on the society and carry the Islamic values along as a way of contributing that unique, that unique aspect in the society of today and tomorrow. So I submit in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chiwewa.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Chiwewa, for this submission and the dimensions for IU. Thank you for bringing out the soft skills, the 5 C's. We normally term them as the soft skills. And we are proud to see that you've managed to bring it out, that IU builds on one of these skills, and this is an indicator of one in its core values, IU core values, character, which is very pertinent, that comes out very well. That was a point to note, an addition to capacity. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other member to make a submission?
Yes, yes, dear moderator, we've just I was requesting the moderator to request Dr. Amal to make his recap, inshallah, and we have a break so that we prepare for the next presentation at 2. So we are kindly requesting the moderator, through the moderator, to let's try to kind of conclude bi'idhnillah and close this session and wait for the second last session, inshallah, at 2 p.m. Thank you so much.
Okay.
You want me to go through again? No, I'm off. What happened?
The technical team at Kampala campus, please put them on. Yes, you are on. Moderator, can you close that session, inshallah?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Adam. Unless there is any other question or any other submission that could come from the members or from the presenter herself, I wish to thank everyone for attending this presentation, and I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward you abundantly for your time, both on earth and in the hereafter. However, I think I can see one more hand.
Have a Gava. Who is Gava?
Mr. Gava. Mr. Gava, please make your submission and then we can wind up, inshallah. Mr. Gava? Is this Sheikh Gava? Hello? Sheikh Gava, we are very sorry. Are you there? Hello?
Mr. Gava, are you willing to give a submission? We see a hand up. I think we can continue.
Okay. We can see your message. You've got some technical breakdown. Anyway, thank you very much for your interest in sharing with us. However, I wish to declare this session closed, and I wish to thank my wonderful presenter for that good presentation. May Allah reward you abundantly.
Allahumma ameen.
Members, thank you very much for sparing your time to come to be with us in this presentation. I wish you a happy Eid. I wish you a nice time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You've been wonderful listeners and wonderful participants. Thank you too.